Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Freshly Awoken podcast, number 6.
Number 6.
I'm joined by many, many lovely people. Our topic is violence tonight. Let's go through the guests. So, Mr. Woke TV is always here as the co-host. How you doing today, Woke?
I'm doing great. As some of you might have noticed, I have made some changes to my personal appearance in terms of getting rid of my luscious beard. I know most of you are going to be terribly upset, but yeah, that's what happened to me this week. What do you think?
True.
Do I look like a lady?
Yeah, definitely. Lawless would say yes.
And obviously, Fresh, you're here as well.
Yes,
the co-host.
Yep.
What's been going on with you?
Just chill. I'm watching the Dota TI finals. Actually, is anyone else Dota fan? Man, $35 million. How can you not watch?
$35 million, right?
$35 million prize pool.
Like 15. I think it's actually more than the Fortnite World Cup. Still, even though they put so much money into that.
Yeah. Oh, well, it definitely was.
Crazy.
Fly as the repeat offender. How you doing, Fly?
Hey, buddy. I'm pretty good. I'd just like to tell Woke that Kara has called you the lesbian. Lesbian Woke.
Standard Kara.
That's what the shave.
Do we need to post her clip? Do we need to post her Fortnite clip again? It was pretty decent, that one. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was good. We've got next to Fly, right in the middle at the top is Grill Cat. What's going on, Cat?
Nothing much.
Where do you live, Cat? Well, tell us a bit about. Not specifically,
New
but
Zealand.
New Zealand.
In New Zealand. My name's Kat.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to make you a bit louder, Cat. So
yeah, no,
I think I was gonna do stuff.
I just stream sometimes. E-girl-cat, E_cat type thing. Yeah.
You do a lot of art as well.
What do you play?
Yeah, I do
Oh,
art.
do you do art? That's
Yeah.
cool.
Mm.
Oh wait,
Yeah, as you can see.
that's right. Oh, yes. Sus picture.
Oh, man.
Fresh.
That was the best. That was, oh man, so many people, like literally IRL friends, because I put it as like my Discord thing. All these people are like, what the hell is this? It's so funny. Oh man.
I know that everybody's like, haha, Fresh looks really funny in that picture, but I'm actually picturing you drawing it. You're like, that's
Wait,
the
what?
tough part.
I was literally like halfway through, like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this?
No, it was beautiful. It was one of the best gifts I've ever gotten. Thank you, Kat. Greavesy, are you as talented an artist as Kat is?
No, definitely not. I lack artist ability.
You'll lack that imagination.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
but not Fortnite ability. What do you do with yourself, Greaves?
Go to uni. I want to be a primary teacher, but
Nice.
yeah, try and play games when I'm not at uni and stuff. Yeah,
Very nice.
pretty much it.
Best OCE Fortnite player. You
No.
heard it here, guys. He keeps saying that.
No.
No.
You're usually in a trio with Rubs and Fraser, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever I can. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
And yeah, we also have Ehruhn, a new guest as well. Ehruhn, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello. So I'm at uni, I'm doing graphic design, and I work in retail, so that's great time. Yeah, that's
Fun times retail.
oh, wonderful times, yeah.
You don't stream though, right? But you hang out quite a bit in Fresh's stream. Right?
Yeah, I'm on Twitch
Impressed.
like a lot. Like whenever I'm doing homework, I'm on someone's stream. Like
Nice.
always
Part
there.
of the community.
Yeah.
You have a cool
Awesome.
tattoo
Alright,
too.
well,
I feel like you should go through your tattoo.
It's hidden right now, but yeah.
Feels
Under
bad.
the party jumper.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Look at
It's
that,
a party.
guys. You wouldn't have ever thought it was orange underneath.
Ooh.
Business in the top, party underneath.
Yeah, you
all right,
can't-
cool. Well, we'll get on to the most important part of the podcast,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I know
let's do this.
why I'm here and why I know all of you are tuning in as well. That's beer review.
Oh, come on, guys. We
What?
practiced
We practiced.
this. Come on.
We genuinely practiced that.
We actually practiced it and no one did.
Guys,
you came out of left field with that.
Greavesy wasn't.
Yeah,
Greavesy wasn't
I was
here
not
for it,
expecting
so,
that. Greavesy was
Greavesy, I'll cut you some slack, but
Yeah.
the rest of you,
I
poor
had no
form.
idea.
Awful.
I wasn't
Well,
paying
anyway,
attention
I
to what's
did it.
happening
I
anyway.
did
You
it.
do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna go around and introduce what we're drinking, and then we'll crack of our drinks after that. So I'll start. So I've had this once before, so not cheating. Man, it's so bright again. Go away, light, so you can see it properly. So it's Feral Brewing Company. It's a WA brand, and Biggie Juice, which is an East Coast IPA. A couple of weeks ago, I reviewed a West Coast IPA, so I would just be like, oh man, I gotta, East-West war,
Balance
which
out the
I mean this
coasts.
is because we're WA versus you Eastern States. But yeah, I've had it before, and it's I remember it being good, but I was pretty drunk when I drank it, so I thought I'd give it another go and give it a proper review. Who wants to go next?
Do you want to go like?
Fly,
Let's
what are you
go-
drinking?
Yeah, go Fly.
Easy. So I'm drinking the 69 Summer Ale from Riverside Brewing. No other reason the fact that it's really called the 69. Riverside is a very subpar company,
Good.
but I have hope. I have hope. I have hope.
Was it in the discount bin?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
They're like $5. They're overpriced, but it's 69 on it. So realistically, paying $4 for the name.
Very nice.
Good.
Who's
Moving
next?
on.
Erin,
next.
what are you drinking?
Yeah.
I am drinking it. I've never had it before, besides tonight. It's Cold Stream apple cider. It was super cheap, and because my normal cider was out, and
Oh,
so
damn.
far so good, not bad.
Very
What
nice.
are the reviews online, Eric?
Well, according to Dan Murphy, it's 9 out of 10. So I don't know what
Oh,
other people are looking at.
So that translates on our scale. That's an 18 out of 20. So
Don't worry, I've still got it up.
I was blind. It was in the 2.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the first review says, tastes like cheap carbonated goon. Nothing like cider. Will not buy
Alright.
again. I don't recommend this unless you're into that 80s cheap stuff.
God, like goon is like that level, and then like cheap goon, like what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's just-
carbonated as well.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, let's see how that goes, Aaron. Good luck with that one.
Oh, well, I've had 2 already. It's not bad.
Yeah.
nice. And Kat, what are you drinking?
I'm with Aaron on this one. No beer at the moment, but I've got cider. So I've got this little beauty. I don't know if you can see. It's very pixelated. It's old malt cider, Fujoa. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It tastes like Fujoa and cider.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what you
yeah.
want it to taste
Moot.
like.
The moot.
It's pretty nice.
And Greavesy, you said that you weren't reviewing an alcoholic beverage.
No.
But you've got something culinary delight.
I don't drink alcohol, but I've got blue Powerade. So
Oh my god, I've heard
Let's
really
do
good
it.
things.
strong.
I've actually
I've
heard
heard good
really,
things, yeah.
nothing but good things.
Yeah. Nothing but good things.
Whoop!
Alrighty, guys. I
Whoa,
know
hey,
that-
whoa, bro.
I
Hold
see a
on,
couple
hold
of you
on.
bloody neck and
You gotta-
beers,
you
but
gotta-
we're gonna crack.
Wait, hold on. I
None
gotta
of us
go.
have
I
started
gotta talk
drinking.
about mine.
Oh wait, what? Oh,
yeah.
Can you
Oh.
even hear me? I've got
I'm
the.
sorry, I don't have
the-
your face on the screen.
Oh, it's alright. That's alright. I'll just yell. Nail Brewing. I finally got a beer that's not green, and you can actually see it, guys. Except it's flipped, but still. Woo. Nail Brewing Co. Red Ale. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Shall we crack communally?
Yeah, let's
All
do it,
right.
guys.
3, 2,
Whoops.
1. Crack.
Cheers.
You guys, yeah.
Just make the sound.
Just.
Nice. Cheers, everybody.
Jeez, this Powerade's good.
Easy. I love it.
That's so
The
good.
beer fresh looks like it's straight out of Soviet Russia.
It's mean. I mean, nail. Nail Brewing. Yeah. That's
That was
all.
a
You
smooth
need to say
pour.
it in that voice too when you're drinking. Nail Brewing,
Nail Brewing.
or in a Russian accent, which I
Oh
can't
damn!
do.
This beer says roll before opening. What does that mean?
Roll?
I've never rolled it. What?
It means it's got thick bits in it. You gotta like shake it in.
Oh, roll it, bro.
Hope it has thick
Just
bits in it. You know
on
I
the
like
on the
Never even
ground.
Oh, it is like. Oh, sorry. We'll
Rolling.
talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that later.
We'll do that later. We'll do that later.
Yeah,
It's so
that's
good.
okay.
It's a good beer.
So yeah, we're going on to let's into our topic. I know we already said that we're talking a little bit about violence, which is kind of the broad scope of what we want to be talking about today.
Mm.
But just to get into some more specifics of what some of the topics that we've come up with is domestic violence, bullying and self-defense, and a little bit about violence in relation to wars and ongoing wars and stuff like that. And yeah, so does anybody have something that they want to start with particularly?
Let's go to the hard topic first. Let's do the domestic violence. And we were actually talking about this a bit before, and we were saying we all almost will have like a similar opinion. So we're gonna try and like explore both sides to a point of like me and Woke were like maybe we'll just become like full on cancerous men's rights activists and just be terrible if we have to explore both sides. But yeah, let's talk a bit about that. We had a little bit of a brush with that in our own Twitch atmosphere, right? Does everyone remember the Mr. Deadmoth incident?
Yeah.
And I actually remember having like a pretty passionate debate about it with a few people.
Yeah.
And I know that a couple of really big streamers jumped on it as well, and it became like a really hot topic, which I love because the whole point of this podcast, and also part of the reason for this podcast, is bringing these issues into a place where they're actually like openly discussed rather than just like swept under the rug. So I love that like it actually made people talk about it, which is really good. But the debate that was kind of happening around it was more about like the double standard between how men are perceived in domestic violence situations and women are perceived in domestic violence situations, which is not really what we're talking about. When we're talking about the issue, we're just talking about like Australia has a massive issue at the moment with domestic violence, and especially around like women in their home. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things where everybody is at a bit of a loss of like how to address it, I guess. I think.
Yep. So maybe to kick off the discussion, I'll try and take the stance that I don't agree with and say maybe we can say does everyone watch that video? It's pretty sickening, like watching the video, right?
Yeah, I watched the video.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is it like Australia kind of thing? Did it happen?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it
was like a year ago. Like
Yeah, a
6
little
months
less
ago?
than I think it was a
like
little less than a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was basically this video of this Mr. Deadmoth, and he was live streaming. He was at his computer, and his partner or significant other or whatever came into the room and was like dinner's ready. You need to stop streaming and come downstairs. And that was all the first like that we saw of what was going on, and then a few things were like thrown at him, didn't really hit him, and then he got up, went off camera, and kind of it sounded like he was punching, and she was whimpering, and there was a few different instances of it, and she kept on coming back for like more kind of thing, and yeah, so it was a bit of a debate about. I distinctly remember reading someone say that she was asking for it, which is a horrible thing to say about anybody that's been beaten. But at the same time, there's always two sides to every story. And at the time, there was like heaps of debate about it, but we don't know exactly. We weren't there. There was no one else in the room. It was off camera, even though you can kind of guess what was happening from the sounds and the movements that he made when he was going off camera. None of us were actually there. So definitely where I got to was a place where I was like, I'm happy to let the courts figure it out.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, Fresh, like you'd been in his like stream before, like this wasn't like a one-off thing. Like he was not like beating, but like he was constantly like aggressive in like the way he spoke towards her, I think you were saying.
Yeah, like so I'd watched him like 5 to 10 times before, and I remember like commenting and being like, man, you like this guy, like I was talking to like the rest of the chat, and I was like, man, this guy really is like abusive to his family. I didn't know if it was his wife or like his parents or whatever, and they're like, no, it's fine, he's always like that, it's fine. I was like, oh geez. All right, okay. But yeah, so maybe a good question to ask as well is would it be, so if it was a girl who was playing and a guy came in and was acting that way, would it be a different scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Good. Tell me why.
Like,
I think.
You go.
Oh, you go.
Any slight, like even hint on violence, not even like the whole throwing thing would have even went viral. Like husband, boyfriend, whatever, throws things at a girl, you know, because she doesn't listen. The
Yeah.
whole, you know, but like, then on the other hand, if she makes her, you know, boyfriend, husband whimper, that's another, you know, whole different, like, I would be like shocked at that as a girl myself, because you don't see girls as someone, as, you know, you don't, I don't know. And then in this society type thing, you don't see a girl making a boy whimper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because she feels she is stronger or more violent towards him. It's usually in people's head, it's straight away the other way.
Yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah.
that would have gone like, I think there would have been a lot of people going, good for her, instead of,
Yeah.
you know,
Like standing up to the guy.
And
Yeah.
there definitely was quite a lot of people who were just being like, who were like good for her, like standing up to him and stuff like that. Whereas like the video, even though Fresh had been to his stream before, and there had been like a bit of a history of him being at least verbally abusive or verbally angry on stream. In the clip that actually like kind of started this whole drama, she was the initiator. She came into the room, she started yelling at him, she threw things at him. That doesn't excuse him at all for his actions, because I think they did end up proving that he did hit her, or like that she had like wounds and stuff like that.
Well, he got tried for common assault, so
he got tried for common assault, and found guilty as well. But he just hasn't been sentenced.
We believe.
We believe. We believe.
Yeah.
From what we read, that's where it's at the moment.
Yeah, there must have been like a toxic relationship between them in the first place. If she starts throwing things at all instead of, you know, telling him what he needs to do or what is happening, and if he's not listening, just leaving it.
Yeah, but then the problem is that when you try to look at relationship both sides, everybody that is like defending violence against women goes, how dare you make excuses for him, when you're not making excuses for him. You think that anybody that starts any kind of violence against someone else is like bad, and then they're like, oh well, how can you compare like hitting her to him hitting her? How can you compare that to her throwing things at him? And then they were like justifying like, oh, like but she only threw like a piece of cardboard, like it was like a harder piece of cardboard that, like, and it missed him, so like what does it matter? But then if you reverse those roles and then you apply those the logic that they were trying to do against the guy with the gender roles reversed, then it just becomes like a completely different issue. And people you would be crucified if you were like, oh, he was chucking stuff at her, and you were like, yeah, but it was just cardboard. You'd be like, oh, you're victim blaming, you're like, and that was like the huge thing. And I know that I watch quite a bit of Destiny. That is like a pretty big streamer, Destiny, talking about the issue, and he said that he'd been in an abusive relationship before, and people don't think that, they don't perceive women as being like the
dominant, like
the dominant person in a relationship. But he was like, there are a lot of, like, every man and every woman is different in their own ways and has their own personality traits and stuff like that. And there's women out there that are super dominated, are like dominators. Super dominant, that are perpetrators of domestic violence in certain situations. And the fact that there's a stigma, like a gender stereotype stigma around when it's acceptable for violence to be perpetrated, is a joke. And he was getting just flamed online by all these people being like, you're a victim blamer, you're saying that it's okay that he hit her, and like, instead of actually having the conversation around the issue, which is like, we need to make sure that we're not applying gender bias when we're talking about these issues. And anyway, sorry.
So I agree with that, because I am in a relationship. I've been with my missus for like 4 years, something like that, and I'm very skinny. Like, I'm classified as anorexic. Like, I'm not even joking. I am really skinny. And if I'm not, this bad wording, if she hit me, she could definitely hit me harder than I could hit her, put it that way. And then I like when I was thinking about this when Woke was talking, I've been out on nights out and I've luckily never seen a girl get hit by a guy.
Yeah.
But I've seen my mates get absolutely like flogged by a chick, like punched in the face, like stuff thrown at them. And if it was the other way around, it would be completely different with like even bouncers and stuff. They like laugh it off if a girl does it. If a guy even says a derogative comment to a girl, you're gone. Like, get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the exact same thing out clubbing and stuff like that. Nights out when there's a bit of alcohol, but like where like if you're on the street there or something like that, and you see a girl like she's angry at her boyfriend or something like that, and she hits him like usually I've seen like a girl hit a guy like that before, quite forcefully. She was really angry, and he just kind of like bear hugged her, and they were obviously having a bit of a fight, but nobody blinked an eye. Like literally, I didn't blink an eye. I was just like, oh, they're having a bit of a lover's tiff, you know? But like, you imagine a guy doing that to a girl. Imagine, yeah, right? I'm like, oh, poor.
Yeah, just
right.
getting back to the. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, but like if you reverse the roles and the guy and the girl were having a relationship, even if the guy was like a little bit weaker than and her, everybody would lose their mind. And I've seen that as well, where like a guy pushes a girl, was like, get off me, pushed her back. She didn't fall over or anything. She just kind of took a step back, and like literally 6 guys instantly were like in his face, pushing him back, going like, yo, like, whoa, you know, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
The treatment.
Just getting back to the strength thing, it doesn't even matter how hard or how forcefully someone, ends up punching someone. The fort's still there. If they could punch you harder, they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If a girl hits you, she hits you with all the force she has. If she was stronger, she would have still punched you, and it would have still, like, okay, it might have looked different in the end effect, but she was hoping to make it look like that.
Yeah, like the intent's the same.
The intent is the same. It's still going through her head.
Yeah.
So
I've been in a relationship before where me and this girl were having a bit of an argument, and I can't remember what she did. She hit me in some way. It was a long time ago, but it was hard, and she obviously intended to hurt because she was angry, and I was like, "Get the fuck out of my house, like right now." And we ended up getting back together about it, but I like laid down the law. I was like, I will never hit you, but you never hit me. And I was like, the next time if that ever happens again, like you were gone for my life for good, completely. And like, and I don't know if that was like a thing that she was comfortable doing or did all the time, but I'll tell you what, she never did it, which is good. But it's just one of those things, and I think it is a little bit that like girls tend to feel like they can't hurt guys as much because we don't show that it hurts as much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like there's that machoism about it where you're just like, well, I'm tough.
Like there's a whole thing of like hits like a girl, like, you know.
Yeah.
Like I've always hated that saying. Like that's just a whole other argument. But like it's like guys are often like seen as like tougher than girls, and like that's just, you know, how it is. And also like with when a guy is like in a domestic, like in a violence like situation, like it is hard, like it's known to be harder for them to say something about it, but like even females aren't believed. It's even like harder to believe a guy, like
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you know,
the whole like reporting process and stuff behind it, where a guy's like, hey, look, I'm this girl, he'd be laughed at, you know. That's a joke, you know. I can imagine say myself doing that. If a mate of mine was talking about it with me, I can imagine maybe until I realized that he was being serious, I would be making jokes about it, you know, because that's just kind of like how I'm programmed.
So what percentage do you think is so of guys who are, so if we're talking about physical dominance, what percentage of guys do you think would be less physical dominant than their partners?
I have 30. No idea.
30? Well, you're going to be about 70-30 split of guys being more
if you look at like domestic violence, it's a 60-40.
In terms of what? The guys being more powerful?
Yeah, so Well, no, just domestic violence.
Perpetrated.
Oh, but
against
I mean,
women.
I'm talking about physical dominance, like who's more muscly, who's able to hit harder.
Oh,
90% male.
90%.
Yeah,
Okay.
if
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm with
but-
you on this because you have to, like, obviously you have to look at it like, we should judge people and try them on intent of the action rather than the effect that the action has. But guys do just on, like, as a median between men and women, guys hit hard. The damage that I can inflict on a woman is so much more than what she can do on me if she tries the hardest. And I know that you shouldn't look at that, but that's just the fact. That's how it is. Most domestic violence cases are male. We hit and we do it more.
Guys are way more aggressive physically. So I think that bias towards genders comes from knowing, like, and I would say it's probably like 90% of guys are going to be more bigger and physically dominant than women, just broadly speaking across the entire population, I guess, accounting for like cultural differences or whatever. But so I think that's why people would say, and no one was going to ever say that abuse, like throwing cardboard boxes or whatever, is okay, because that's still abuse. But I think most people, the reason that we're biased towards condemning the man more than the woman is the person in the position of power is the person who needs to be held responsible for. A little bit more responsible for stopping that. So I'd draw like a parallel maybe to if your child came up to you and was like smashing you as hard as they could in the chest, that's not good, obviously. And but it would be way less okay if I smash my child as hard as I could in the chest, And so because I'm more physically powerful, so the person in the position of power is the person who has the responsibility to try who has to stop that. Otherwise,
to de-escalate at all costs.
Yes, yeah,
like
exactly.
To de-escalate to the point of, but like, okay, so this is something that the whole debate sparked as well. So like, yes, like I definitely got to the point where you are, where I'm like 100% the person that has the more power in this situation physically has the responsibility to de-escalate as much as possible. But at what point does that de-escalation flip? Does that point, is there a point where you say he was justified in hitting her?
Yeah.
Like let's say she pulls out a knife. Is even though he's the physically dominant, is it okay for him to put her down in that situation?
Like, is he just protecting himself, or is he becoming abusive then?
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of rolls into the whole self-defense topic of like that. When is it okay to get into, like, when are you in self-defense territory, and how far are you allowed to go in that self-defense in terms of violence?
Well, I don't think there like is like a line, because obviously every situation's different. But yeah, I think I could be wrong, but I think the whole like Mr. Deadmoth situation be looked at differently. If like, yeah, she did pull a knife, or she did, threaten him to,
I think
kill him
Something
even.
harder than a piece of cardboard,
Mm.
like maybe like the plate of food that was ready, like
yeah.
I think everyone would have been like, oh, that's when those comments, where the stupid comments that people say, where it's like, oh, she deserved it. Like, I hate that comment. Hate that comment. But
no one deserves it, no matter what the situation.
A lot more people would have gone that road rather than the, oh, he's a asshole road.
Yeah. So but it's very well to say like, oh, everything's different, but there's got to be a point, and then you've also got the thought process, especially behind self-defense, where it's like, do you stop her before she's got the knife?
Yeah, but you can't read her mind.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. But like, let's say that someone is escalating to the point of like craziness. All right, they're going insane. It's kind of okay. Let's move away from like the man versus woman situation and go to like a man on man situation. All right?
Hey, whoa, okay.
Hey, man,
Right.
Man on man.
He's a whole new person.
Hey, we got man on man, and then over with you guys, man on man as well on my screen, and then in the middle it's a bit of girl on girl as well. Sorry, I just thought I'd point that out. Go on, please continue.
Anyway, Wow, fucking sorry. Made me look bloody sus fresh, guys.
Professional hosts, guys. This is what we do. We bring people on and we talk about rubbish.
Bring them together.
So, what I was getting at was like let's take that because it is it's very hard because people mix up the whole gender thing in the topic. But if you were in a situation, and so a little bit of a story from my own life again. So I was in a situation where I was surrounded by a group of men who obviously were intending me harm, and I was like a little bit tipsy, a little bit drunk, and I instantly started acting more drunk than I was. I was like super drunk and like, hey guys, like what's going on? Because instantly I realized that I was in a very, very dangerous situation, like very dangerous, like life threatening. And I was like, okay, what options are available to me here? There's no way that I can take on all 5 of these guys. And if I start something, I'll probably get hurt. But like, let's say I was in a position where I was like, you know what? I think I could take on these guys. At what point am I allowed to go, this is a life-threatening situation, and like put them down before I get put down? If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like in that situation, I wasn't able to do that. So I acted drunk. I ended up getting my jaw like punched. I fell to the ground, spat out like 6 teeth. And there was they ended up moving on. I like spat blood and teeth onto the floor and was like I was acting drunk still because I was like, fuck, I don't want to die here. Like, what the fuck was that for, mate? Like, and they were like, oh, fuck you, mate. And they like kicked me again and then moved on. So like, I got really lucky. But what if I had been in a position to be like, these guys are coming at me, I'm going to come at them. Is it okay for me to go at them, or am I just supposed to take it?
That's self-defense. So that's the thing with self-defense. There's such a hard line between taking it too far yourself and not doing enough. Like, so I was thinking about it earlier, and it was like, if I'm sitting in my car and old mate that did the Sydney thing with the knife, and he starts running at my car, do I run him over? Like, do I run him over? And I like, if I did, I'd probably get in trouble for it. But like, at least I don't get stabbed. Like,
yeah.
And you are stopping other people from potentially being stabbed. I suppose.
Good point.
Yeah, but then there's also the point of like, being stabbed does not necessarily mean death, and it's like it's such a fine line. It's such a hard line to draw. And should we be drawing it? Should we be saying it's further on the other side where it's okay to preemptive self-defense rather than saying you're only allowed to defend yourself once you get started on, and only to the point of like an equal violence level?
Yeah, I think
if someone comes at me with a knife, am I allowed to come at them with it?
Yeah, I think as a society, we generally have decided that violence that stops or at least inhibits or the idea of more violence happening is justified. So that's what a lot of the time police would have to do. They tackle some guy and they might like mess him up, but if they think he's going to go on a rampage or whatever, that's totally justified, and we seem to say that's all right.
But only in the situation where they are trained and like and with the law like backing them.
Yeah, so I guess it's almost two different conversations where we talk about the law versus like ethically. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So now there's a lot of cases of police officers getting charged for assault when they arrest someone because they use too much force.
Yeah,
and that was never. I've never heard about it. Obviously, I'm only 22, but like, I didn't think that was a thing back a decade ago. Like about police getting charged for assault for arresting someone too harshly.
I have another scenario. Okay, so we're getting back to the girl on girl thing.
Oh, please.
So if you
oh gosh, Fly, what are you doing? Stop, please.
I'm being serious. If I'm walking somewhere and I see a lady walking up towards me, obviously, you know, violent look, you know, obvious body language, you know, she's about to, you know, I don't know, steal my purse or some shit, whatever. She's got some kind of weapon in her hand, and she, you know, she's desperate. That type of, you know. If she, you know, attacks me, you know, the word. Would you associate the word crazy with a man attacking you? Like, a lot of, you know, women get, you know, classified as crazy if they don't act a certain way. Men don't get called crazy. They're just called, you know, violent.
Tough,
Yeah.
Violent, you know.
Angry.
That's another thing.
And it's not necessarily like if someone's like, oh man, you're very violent. Necessarily.
Yeah, like you know, a girl can be called, you know, tough in that way. But then on the other hand, I've talked to, you know, many guys where it's like, you know, they've talked about their relationships being a bit rough, and the girl going, you know, them quoting a quote like, "Oh, she's crazy," and then I asked them like, "Oh, why is she crazy?" It's like, "Oh, because she, you know, she hits me." Yeah, but that's not being crazy. That's just her being, you know, abusive towards you.
Yeah.
You know, that's you know, like they just call it. Oh, she's just crazy.
So are you saying that? Are you saying that
get
it's more likely that men downplay?
Yeah,
abuse?
they're not. Yeah, no, they're not categorizing the adjectives
correctly.
properly. Yeah, they're not putting crazy and violent in the same, you know, box in that way.
I feel like quite often I think that would happen if they are the dominant in the situation, like or like the physically dominant, like Fresh was saying before. Like so if so obviously in my situation, when the girl that I was seeing hit me, I was the physically dominant in that situation. So as much as I was upset, I wasn't frightened. I wasn't scared for my life. And if she had have continued to hit me, I would have kicked her out of my house. And then describing her to my mates, I would have been like, man, she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
if I had been a little bit weaker, or we had been on par or something, and she had hit me, it would have been, I think, probably a completely different story, because with that physical dominance, I think, comes the psychological, emotional dominance as well when you're hitting someone.
Yeah.
There's a
real potential for pain.
Yeah, there's a real potential for pain, but also it's more than that. It's like
you see them differently in a different persona in a way.
Yeah,
like we seem to. You go.
Yeah, sorry, you go, Fresh.
Well, we do tend to categorize like, because maybe it's a bit more out of character for girls to be physically violent or physically aggressive, I should say, maybe. We're like, oh yeah, that was crazy behavior. You know, most girls wouldn't do that. And then we even do that, I feel like, racially a lot of the time, you know, where there's these events, like crazy events happen, and if they've got brown skin and a beard, it's like, oh, he's a terrorist. And if he's a white dude shooting up a place, oh, he was just some crazy dude. Like,
he's mentally unstable. Yeah.
We just we tend to, like, on race, on gender, label people differently, and it's not a great use of language, because then it kind of enables worse actions from people who are probably racist or sexist to act on those things.
I think obviously we covered the whole, like, toxic masculinity and a bit of the gender debate on a previous podcast, where we kind of came to the conclusion that it was like, it's not okay to distinguish based on gender stereotypes. Therefore, in this situation of Mr. Deadmouth, for example, you Deadmouth. A dead mouse is what I think I was
Oh yes, nice.
Mr. Deadmouth. It was like, she was completely in the wrong when she was throwing things at him. Completely in the wrong, and should be considered an abusive behavior. But then he was also completely in the wrong when he hit her.
Back. So what do you think you should have done? What was the correct way to deal with it?
You have to de-escalate the situation first.
Yeah, true.
I think the initial thing is try to de-escalate.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, obviously, de-escalating.
Yeah. So if he was saying stop, and she didn't stop, what could he have done? What should he have done?
Remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah. What like baffles me the most is he went back to stream. Like he kept on trying to play the game. Like
Oh, so weird.
as
Yeah,
it
yeah.
like it
As
just
if nothing
doesn't
had
make
happened.
sense to me.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Good
he
point.
completely glazed over. Like he's back to the game until
Yep.
she starts yelling again. And
Yep.
like
That's what I wanted to
why-
get to because
yeah.
I also watched Destiny talk about it, and he's like, he's de-escalating the situation. He's saying stop, and then he gets up and he slaps her and it's de-escalated, and then she comes back for more and he's like stop, and I was like, freak, man. I actually really like Destiny, but he was way off on this one. I think he's got personal experience with it, but what he missed completely, and what most people did, was that this guy wasn't de-escalating it by. She said, I've cooked you dinner. It's been an hour. You do this all the time. Blah, blah, blah. Get off the computer and come have dinner. By continuing to stay on the computer, he's not de-escalating the situation, and then he escalates it by slapping her. So
Yeah.
that would be probably what I would say is the correct thing to do.
I think his self-awareness is so just wrong because he, after like the, like obviously been reported, the whole situation happened, he came back to stream. And like he didn't talk at all. Like he would have like I think it was like a bot in his chat just saying like Mr. Deadmau5 cannot speak on the situation. And I'm like, why would you come back? Like it felt like to me like he had no remorse almost, like, or no regret. Like
for a lot of these people, that's like, you know, taught behavior. They grew up in families like Mr. Deadmau5 and his wife's, you know. For them, this is obviously not normal, but it's not out of the ordinary to have these situations happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Good. Well, I think we kind of started talking a little bit about self-defense, and we should go into, because Greavesy wrote down about a case in Australia, in Newcastle, of a home invasion. Mr. Ben Batterham, who, could you explain a bit about the case, Greaves? What happened?
Case?
Is he muted for you guys?
Oh, I think you might be muted.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep. My keyboard's so loud, so whenever I type, I try and mute it. So
That's fine. You just type away, man.
Yeah, just type. It's cool. We're all typing.
Basically, it's like half an hour from my house where this happened. A guy who just got out of jail broke into a guy's house, and when he went to jail for something to do with children, violence against children, it was something along the lines of that. The dad found the guy in his daughter's bedroom. They got into like a scuffle, obviously, like, so his home invasion, blah, blah, blah. Took it outside to the front lawn where he strangled the dad, like got the guy in the headlock and basically choked him out, but didn't know that he choked him out to the point where he was knocked out. He ended up dying, and that guy's getting charged with murder.
Yeah, right.
And now, this was last year when I first saw of it. Whenever it was, I can't really remember. But there was a massive petition where, like, I think it was like nearly 100,000 people signed it to say that the court, like, he can't be charged for protecting his family and like his house and blah blah blah. Which I like. My own personal view is like, if that old mate breaks into your house, standing over your young daughter's bed. Like, he's lucky he only got choked.
Yeah.
100%.
If it was America, he's dead because he's shot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And I think we mentioned stream someone did about like how in America they have like self-defense laws where it's like like if they're in your like home, then and you can prove that something was happening, then it's okay for you to use necessary force or whatever. But then in Australia, we might not necessarily have laws like that.
Our law is equal or to the point of like, it's like equal to or lesser force used.
Yeah.
You can't use more.
That's what Cry said in chat as well, equal to the force being used.
Yeah.
And so this guy, obviously he was untrained or whatever, and he didn't know that he had gone past the point of equal force.
Yeah, and it came, and the guy that studies the body and blah blah blah, it came down to something wrong with the guy's health as well, as to why the headlock, it was something to do with his lungs as well, was a part of the reason he died.
So you got to like run at him and be like, well, you got any lung problems? Well, okay, I got
you. Please fill out my medical form.
Where's this bracelet? Oh, I can't tackle this, dude. Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's a ethical. Once again, it's an ethical question as well as like a law question, and because everyone has such vastly different kind of morals, I guess, in that situation, it's you have to have pretty strict laws probably about where lines need to be in this. And I would probably say that America's got it. Like if someone comes into your house, people should probably be. If someone's on your property and you suspect them of whatever, you should probably be able to remove them with any force necessary. But then I would say ethically, I wouldn't do that. If he'd already run onto my lawn, I might not choke him out. It's also hard with because people find this kind of thing enables a lot of people to be like, like extreme situation, but like drag some kid who you don't like onto your lawn or in your house and then kill him and then be like, oh yeah, whatever, he came in. And I mean, it's probably not a very likely situation anymore, but I'm sure that would have happened a lot back in the day as well with the race wars that happened in America and such.
Yeah, I think with like the case you were just talking about, I imagine his case in court would have not been like he didn't intend to kill him, but like obviously like a father like wanting to protect his family and his daughter, like I can't imagine like the kind of like anger that would be going through his head. Like, but did he intend to kill him? Like, I think intent is what it comes down to.
I would want, like, I physically can't because I'm a twig. But if I was big, I would want to kill that person. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I feel like that would have gone through his mind, but like whether he actually wanted to kill him, like,
yeah,
I guess could be questioned.
It was the same in the situation where I had that group of guys around me. It was like in my head, I'm a fighter. Like in that situation, I wanted to fight, but I knew that if I fought, I probably would have gotten a lot more messed up than I did. And so I kind of like went with my logic. Like I'm a pretty logical guy. I run through situations in my head, and I was like, I think this is my best shot, so I went with it. But for the most part, I tend to arc up at these kind of situations rather than sit back and be like Mr. Passive. But you obviously choose where you sit on the scale and what you can deal with. But like, does that mean that I'm a violent person? Because in my head, my first thought was I want to fucking knock these guys out. Oh wait, shit, there's 6 of them was my second thought. But does that make me a violent person?
No, that's just instinctual because everyone has a different reaction to a different situation. Flight and freeze. Obviously you do want to fight, but you're level-headed enough to know that you can't win.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. Good.
Yeah. So we kind of come to this point with self-defense where it's like, I mean, you've got to judge it by a case basis. I think obviously the courts of do you know the outcome of that Ben Batterham case, Greavesy? At all? Or like, do you know the case about the guy with the self-defense in his home, the home invasion?
Yeah.
Do you know the outcome? Like, did he get
charged?
charged?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was charged with something.
He was charged, but we don't know the outcome.
Yeah, I don't think it was murder. I'm pretty
I
sure
look it up. I thought it was manslaughter. Yeah.
Manslaughter
Makes sense.
Because like in obviously, I think that there's so much gray area with that kind of stuff. But like, if you do go to, even if it's accidental, it'd be the same as like I was pointing the gun at him, telling him to leave my property, and then I accidentally pulled the trigger and shot him, and he died. Like you still killed him, and you still killed him using more force, even if you didn't mean to or you didn't know you were using more force than you should have. And you still killed a dude. Therefore, you need to receive punishment for killing someone.
Yeah, I would be screwed. Like, I would be screwed. If a guy ran at me with a knife and I had and it was like a multiple choice where it was like, oh, here, have a knife or a gun. I'm taking the gun. Like,
yeah.
Like, that would be my instinct. Like, grab something that I can hit this bloke better with and
give yourself the advantage.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The old power equalizer. The guns.
Yeah. And but I think that we have to have those laws in place though to dissuade people, regular people, from it's a deterrent to violence. Like if this guy gets off, then that sets a precedent for other people to be like, well, if someone is in my home and I accidentally kill him or use too much force and I didn't know that I was using too much force and he's dead now, then there's a precedent. This guy got off, I should get off, you know? And then it just like snowballs. So as a society, we need to have these laws in place to be like, violence is not like violence to a certain degree is not okay.
Well, yeah, but you should do that through education as a man trying to protect his family as a, martyr. There's better ways to do things.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean? Can you?
Well, you were saying that you ought to set a precedent because obviously he didn't mean to kill him. It was obviously self-defense. But then he's convicted just because they want to set a line. You don't use people as martyrs. There's different ways to go about educating, teaching them what's the right way to do things.
I mean, it depends. It depends on what kind of sentence he gets, But I think that there has to be some form of punishment. I'm not saying that he should go to jail for he killed somebody, and that's the difference between manslaughter and
yeah. So murder's a minimum of like 20 years or something.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous. And manslaughter can be between, I think it's 3 and up.
I think it's like 3 to 8 or something like that.
Yeah, so
I'm not 100% sure on that, but
I should know this. I do freaking legal studies.
Our resident legal expert, right?
Isn't it higher, but you can get out on parole after 3 years? So I think you will be convicted for higher amounts, but there is a possibility of leaving after 3.
Yeah, I will say like Australia, like in terms of the legal system, is good in the fact that like it takes each case for what it is. It's not just like the same law applied to everyone. And like for like a manslaughter case, like just because like the minimum of like 3 years imprisonment is that doesn't mean it has to be that way. Like I think we're pretty good at that, but
the way our legal system works is it works off previous cases to what your case should get. So old mate, you remember that guy that killed everyone in wherever it was, and then all the guns got taken away?
Oh yeah,
he would have
Port
got
Arthur.
He would have got done for murder.
Port Arthur.
Yeah, that Port. He would have got done for murder, and then if you put those 2 cases next to each other, they would say, "Oh, well, this guy has to get a lesser sentence because he wasn't didn't have the intent." I don't think that was.
Yeah.
So it's like they go from case to case to like, oh, what should this bloke get? Blah blah blah. And a lot of people don't like it because, especially, this is a very sensitive topic, but like sexual assault cases, as soon as one of them got a very lenient sentence, now a lot of cases are getting not, in my own opinion, not enough to them. And it's just because of that.
Wait, so someone got a linear sentence and then it's set a precedent for
It set a precedent for the rest.
Yeah, that's not good.
And that's what I'm getting at is like, as a society, we need to draw a line, and this behavior is not okay, no matter the circumstance. And it's horrible. It's horrible that this dude, he was acting in self-defense, and there was it was in an extenuating circumstance where he was protecting his family and stuff like that. But he still killed somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he could have stopped earlier.
Yeah, he could have thrown him out his front door and left it.
Yeah,
gone back to
and then locked the door and called the police. I would 100% guarantee there was a chance for him to try to de-escalate that situation, and he didn't. He decided to choke the guy out and put him to sleep, or try to put him to sleep, or whatever he was doing. And then he accidentally killed the dude. Horrible situation. I really feel for the dude, but he still murdered somebody. Like, no, he didn't murder him. He still killed. Like, he's taken a life, and there needs to be punishment for it. And we need to draw a line in a society, because otherwise we set a precedent, and we can't set a precedent that encourages violence in any way. That's my personal take.
So someone in chat says, what defines a society? And it's just like Australia.
Yeah, like
you're inside
our government
and legal system.
Our legal system, the people's decisions to vote for who they want to, and the laws that get passed because of the votes that we cast. That's our society. As well as our like personal opinions and beliefs.
We have a pretty good society in Australia. I mean, they tend to deal with it pretty decently. Most of these things, I know some stuff gets.
I mean,
Sits in the
didn't-
cracks.
Yeah,
they didn't used to like 50 years ago.
yeah. That's true.
In terms of the Aboriginal population and violence, but I mean, actually, even these days, to be honest, up north, but
That's true. I
that's like
mean,
a whole other topic.
I still wouldn't say it's good, but I suppose I'm just saying comparative to the rest of the world, where we're doing okay.
Yeah,
Just okay.
Yeah, like on the other hand, like what's his name? Is it the father that did it?
Yeah, so his name's
Yeah,
Ben.
Yeah. So yeah, he couldn't read the guy's, mind, what he was going to do next. He just did the worst, the thing that he thought of straight away without thinking of the consequences that might, he doesn't know that he might have, just walked away after being told, to go away. That type of thing. Like, if I see someone breaking, if I see someone in my house after I come home, obviously not with my daughter and stuff like that, nothing intense like that. If I see someone stealing things out of my house, for example, I obviously wouldn't fight him. I would call the police. But in that situation, when someone's near, your family, that's like your head goes straight in there. Your head doesn't think. You're just straight onto the person trying to make them stop doing whatever they're doing. So, I mean, that he's in there in the first place, what? Like, the moment you break into someone's house, you expect to be treated the worst way possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we kind of have like I think the term's probably like a social contract where you have like boundaries, and then if you violate that boundary by breaking into someone's house and doing the wrong thing, then it's expected that you've torn up the rule book, and you're like, force whatever force kind of goes in most understandings.
Yeah, and this guy had obviously, like, I think you said he'd been convicted of like previous like child crimes or whatever they were. Obviously, like the guy, like the father's not going to know that as it's happening, or maybe he does, but like what he could have like done could have been, horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, like how would you know what his
intentions
what
are.
he hasn't done or what he has done?
Yeah.
Or his
he only
medical
knew
as well.
him.
You've
Yeah, he only
just
knew
seen
him
this
as the guy
bloke.
coming into his.
Yeah, and like, well, this is a funny story. So my mates went camping. I think we were like 13, and me and my brother decided we'd go and play tricks on him. And like, it was out in the bush because it's a weird area where I live, and around that area there was a lot of drunk idiots. So we got like rocks and pegged it at their tent. We were doing that and laughing, they called their dad and said, like, these drunk idiots are trying to like get us. Their dad came down in a full drive full of 13 people, like there was 13 of them, into this bushland, and they got out of the car with like shovels and everything ready to bash these drunks. And I was like crying my eyes out, like, no, it's just us.
Wow.
And his dad turned to me and was like, you're lucky because we were ready to kill someone. And I was like, fair. Like,
shit.
Far out.
Fair. Oh my god, I didn't realize.
Yeah. I look at it now and I'm like, yep, could have died.
Kids are dumb, man. Sometimes kids are dumb.
Yeah, like the
you just
whole
do
thing,
stuff that you don't.
Yeah, the thing's escalating. Like, honestly, like, even then when you're a kid and you're playing with your brother, playfully, obviously, it's like it's always gonna turn out worse than you really wanted it to, like in that way. And it's just, the whole situation is just like it turned out the worst way possible. Yeah, like if he literally just made him pass out, called the cops on him, there would have been no, whatsoever. Someone broke into your house, you choked him, and then he passed out, called the cops, they handled it. What would have been the outcome of that? Self-defense.
Yeah, definitely. I think, me and my own brother, obviously growing up, we had our like tussles and whatnot, and I've definitely hurt him on occasions. just like he's hurt me. And I think the only thing that I've kind of, I pulled a lot out of it, but one of the things I pulled out of it is that violence in any situation can escalate in a way that you don't want it to.
Yeah.
You know, because there could be a time where he was really annoying me, really annoying me, and nitpicking, and I might punch him on the arm. And then he snaps and he slaps me in the face, or punches me in the face. You know, and I don't want to escalate past that point. So I'm like, "Oh, that really hurt. Fuck. I really wish I hadn't have just punched him in the arm to start with."
Yeah.
You know, but then there was other times where, maybe he started on me and I put him on the ground and we're that's right. You're my little bitch. You know what I mean?
I got 4 brothers.
And but the thing is that when you start violence, sorry, I don't want to tell weird stories about my brother, but there's when you start violence, he's watching, just being I'm traumatized. When you start violence, you never know where it's going to end. And that's, I think, the biggest advocate for me in not starting anything is when you start something, when you're the initiator, you never know where it's going to go. You know, in my situation, if I had been all right, maybe I'll just punch this guy really hard, see if they get distracted, and I'll try to run. What if I had done that and one of them pulls out a knife because of it? You know, and then stabs me and now I'm dead, or stabs me 10 times, and now I'm dead. You know, you never know where it's going to go when you're the escalator.
And that goes back to that case that we're talking about. You wouldn't know what this guy has on him.
Standing
if
over
someone
your door.
breaks into my house, I'm expecting them to have something that hurts me. I'm not going to go up to him and be like, "Hey, mate, can you please get out?
Yeah.
Do you want a drink? You can have a drink and then leave." But no, I'm like, "Oh, fuck. Get out."
For those people in the chat wondering, me and my speaking terms, we have.
So you cut out a bit there. You and your brother are what?
Sorry, me and my brother are on speaking terms and have quite a good relationship, even though we might have tussled as kids.
He's also way bigger than you now and could totally destroy you. So better not.
I saw someone in chat say sibling rivalry is not the same as severe domestic violence. Yes, I definitely agree with you, but there's definitely what I wasn't trying to say something like that. I was trying to draw parallels between when you escalate, you're the escalator of violence. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know.
I was just talking about the whole thinking you wanna, Just
in saying that, looking at photos of the two people, that guy that he was fighting, so Ben, the man that broke in, is obviously massive in comparison to him. A lot bigger, a lot more dangerous. Look at the photo.
Wow.
A lot bigger. So in that situation, when you've got the advantage over someone who is obviously more of a threat in a one-on-one fair fight, why would you just hand that back over to him?
Wait. So the guy who broke in was really big compared to the guy who did the strangling.
Yeah, he's not big. And then you look at the photo of him, and he's a big guy. The guy that broke in is big. And then it's why would you, knowing that you've got the advantage in a situation where you think there's real potential for you to be harmed, hand that back over to them just so they don't so they don't die or they don't have injuries. You're never going to do that in that situation. Middle of a fight, you're never going to stop just because you've got the advantage when they're obviously more of a threat. And he got cracked during that fight as well. He was not healthy.
So I'd once again, I'd be okay with if there was the law that says if you break into someone's house, you're at fault, and whatever happens for that person to get you off their property is your own stupidity for breaking in. What you do, because I think laws and morals are very different things. I don't think the government should prescribe our morals. And, I think people have to work out what they would do in that situation themselves. But I don't think people should so much be held at fault if they went to town on a guy to get him out of their house. I don't see many problems with if that was a law and people understood that the law was if you break into someone's house, you're going to get messed up. If everyone knew that, then they shouldn't break in.
No one would break into houses.
You would hope that no one break in.
There would be a potential that they were going to lose their life.
Yeah, and if they did,
Look, I definitely get where you're going, and I think that there's I see where you're coming from, and I think that there's potential wiggle room. I have potential wiggle room in my thought processes for coming to terms with that fact.
I do wonder if there should be.
I like the fact that as a society we discourage violence in all forms through our laws.
Well, you have to. I suppose then we know some violence. We justify some violence, and we see that as like a a preventer of increased violence. So you could almost say that this person breaking in is acting in a violent way. So you're justified in violently enacting towards him. I would think it would be different if it was kids involved or maybe mentally impaired people, which you're not going to know at the time. But let's say a 10-year-old broke into your house. I think maybe the rules should be different, like law-wise. I would say, because we understand that kids are different to adults. They can't think as rationally, so we try them differently in courts, and they have different jails and so on. Still doesn't make it right, obviously, and there should be some sort of. I'm sure we do have plenty of ways to stop that.
You egged a house. Like everyone, most people, not everyone, egged someone's house when they were a kid.
You've egged a house? Oh my
I have,
Greavesy.
actually.
Egged a house.
I'm with you, Greavesy.
Thrown rocks at people's tents.
So,
Thrown rocks. What haven't you thrown?
Yeah, not a lot.
Greavesy, did you toilet paper as well? Did you go all the way? Whole 9 yards?
That's an American thing, isn't it?
We egged this bloke's house. I was like, it was Halloween, my first Halloween I was allowed to go without my parents. This guy didn't have anything, so we egged his house. And he ran after us, but like if we were adults, I think he would have come out with a bat, not like just him getting angry.
So, call the cops or something like that instead.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an adult and you've gone through life and you're still egging people's houses, that's, I think people would react
You're
differently.
ill.
Definitely.
That's why I was late. I was actually
Egging houses.
Quick, someone call 000.
This man.
Someone clip that and then send it to us.
Someone mentioned before that I think Fresh, you were saying, you were like, there's acceptable forms of violence. You know, like we to a certain point accept the police harming people to prevent crimes.
War.
And that got me thinking about one of the topics that I wanted to talk about in this podcast, which was a little bit about war and its role in today's society and its role in our societies that have been in past or whatever. Because that's another situation where we kind of, I don't know, like quite a lot of people would say that we are okay with violence and in the case of war and in the case of military intervention and stuff like that, extreme violence, you know, actions that can kill multiple civilians, you know, like hundreds of civilians at once, even based on the fact of like trying to intervene on the part of people. And it's something that most people, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free to disagree with me, most people are accepting of the fact that there are certain situations where military intervention is necessary. What do you guys think?
I disagree.
You disagree? You think we shouldn't have a military, or we shouldn't intervene at all in other nations' affairs?
In a perfect world, which is impossible now, you spend the money that you spend on military on anything else, like anything else, because I think this is a stat. I know it's been said a couple of times, but like the money that was spent on defense in America for like 3 years was enough to cure world hunger. Like that's crazy. And for me, it's like people join the military and stuff, and it's great. Like they get a job out of it. In Australia, I don't think we are affected by it, but we're pretty much bystanders to like America, who are like, yo, like the world has to dictate on our terms, like get on our page or get out. And then like you got North Korea and that are making massive bombs and blah blah blah. But it like the bit that gets me is the fact that like it goes through these couple leaders who like are just arrogant and they can't just get along, and everyone starts dying, like innocent people that are probably just getting along, like trying to do their life. They start dying. Like I think it's dumb.
So would you be and this obviously, I'm not talking about situations where nations abuse. So like, for example, the whole weapons of mass destruction nonsense when it comes to like invading Iraq and invading Afghanistan and stuff like that. But like, if there's like a genocide happening in Rwanda, and all like the whole world is sitting on their hands because they're like, oh, like we don't want to intervene in another nation's business.
Yeah, well,
And
I think
there's
that
on the
happens
ground,
to
there's a small militaristic upper class, or like not upper class, like overarching layer of people who are very militaristic and are going around slaughtering a certain type of people.
yeah.
And do you think that it should be it should be a flat out no? The world should just
So
go.
it would be like
let it
what
happen.
Hitler did to the Jews.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. So we've had a world war. We've had a couple of world wars
yeah,
where the world stepped in and were like, okay, look, we're not okay with what you're doing here. You're crossing the line, you know, and we're going to step in. And
Yeah.
you're saying that you would much rather them let Hitler cross the line,
no,
hey,
yeah.
like then and spend that money on feeding the poor, than
Yeah, I get what you mean.
potentially
But
sending thousands of people to commit heinous
yeah,
crimes and kill people. And
Well, I'm just going to interject here. They didn't. Let's just use American as example. They didn't attack Nazi Germany because Germany was killing Jews. They attacked them because they were in talks with Mexico trying to get them to start with the USA. So there was no chance. Militaries exist to protect commodities rather than people. And America right now is a perfect example of that. They're attacking the Middle East because there's so much, oil and money wrapped up there, that massive interest for their country, as well as just the military itself. There's so many, like, I don't want to talk about corruption here. It's not the same thing, but they're designed because they make so much money for weapon contractors, just make so much money out of that.
Yeah.
Like, look at how much we spent on planes we don't even have yet. Like, we're cutting money from schools and stuff, but we spent money on planes. It's just ridiculous.
Look, I get what you're saying, and Greavesy already made that like the kind of the money debate, where it's like, yes, I agree. In a perfect world or in a better world, I think that I would much rather all of that money be spent somewhere else, be spent on the schooling and on world hunger and whatever. However, we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where there are people that commit disgusting crimes on a huge scale, and I think personally that I feel a social responsibility for the rest of the world, and not only for the people in my own country or my own community or just my family. If there was, for example, Rwanda, where there's a huge genocide, I am 100% for my country and the military aspect of my country being like, there is something going on there that is against the laws of the world. We need to step in, and we need to step in now and do something about it, no matter the fact that we're going to have to commit like ridiculous acts of violence to do it against the people that are already committing genocide in that country. I know Rwanda was quite a while ago, in that situation.
That's a good example.
That whole region is, Africa is very unstable. But like, do you guys disagree with me? Do you think that we shouldn't step in that situation, and we should just be like, hey, look, well, these guys are the top of the food chain. They've got all the guns. They're gonna kill who they're gonna kill, and like, it's not our country.
So I was thinking, like, if it was like you're saying like a genocide, is it on behalf of the government, or if it's on behalf of like the people? Like saying killing like people in government there, like I feel like we'd respond differently. Like if it was like on behalf of the government or behalf of the people, like the genocide being committed.
So, for example, like Hitler was a government, like
because like he was in power.
He was in power. He was an elected person that the people had said, yeah, we're okay with you doing what you're doing, and then he ended up killing all the Jews. Whereas in Rwanda, it was like people took over the country and killed the government, and were like, okay, now actually all of these people, we're going to kill all of them as well.
Yeah, I think with like Hitler, with Hitler and like Nazi Germany, like it was not covered up, but like it was so much less known that like it just seemed like because the way that like Germany, like the government Germany in that time, like perceived themselves like it's a good country, like nothing's going on, because what they like the government believed what they were doing was right. and well, they didn't. They probably knew it was wrong, but they felt it was what they had to do, so they like covered it up so it wouldn't look like like
I mean, at that time, Hitler was the army in that way. They were the people in power, and people, because he covered it up by saying to people that they're gonna get out of poverty and starvation and stuff like that. That's exactly like every other, that's how presidents do it. They cover up what they're actually doing by things, a little better. So like that's the whole thing. He said he made the whole country so much better, economically wise, and just everything. It just rose like extremely. Everything just got a lot better when he was in charge, so people didn't question what he was doing behind the curtains. And then when people started, get a whiff of what actually was going on, of course they doubted what was wrong or right. However, they were still not, they still had food on their table, they still had money, why would they argue with that?
I'm pretty sure Hitler got in because he was a forefront for wanting. He told everyone that he wasn't gonna. So First World War, they got smashed in the end, and he said, "I'm not gonna let that happen again." And it started from that, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, what a good guy."
Yeah,
what a good guy, because they were all super salty about having to bow out of the First World War because they got beaten. And so he was like, well, they made mistakes. I wouldn't make those mistakes. We can win. And everybody was like, hey, I'm on board with that. But I get what you're saying. And what you're saying is essentially kind of like there's an innocence to the public. Like Hitler was responsible. Hitler and the Nazi government of that war, for example, were responsible for the treatment of the Jews, and it wasn't the general public. So, like, why is it okay for us to commit like violence and kill a lot of these innocent Germans to get rid of, like what? I'm not 100% sure.
I think
we shouldn't be.
That's I mean that the whole thing, that the thing with killing specific type of people was just him being mentally obviously sick. That was him. But like, I know there's I've seen a lot of arguments where people in charge or high above think that they should kill people that are in poverty. So, to get rid of them because they make the economy look bad. That's a whole nother. That's the same, not the same, but the same thinking type of thing. In that way, it's just he thought those type of people looked bad. So what can you do against that? But I obviously no excuses. That's not good. Obviously.
It also made a lot of sense. This is such a horrible thing to say for Hitler to do that. Paint a face of the enemy. You make a common enemy. Give everyone
totally
a straightforward path, which is obviously he was insane. He's a very calculated person.
So much can be said for, and this happens on small scale, like having a common enemy to work against really, really draws people. Like you can build really, really strong friendships over complaining about your boss. So you get a common enemy.
100%.
And and it's not necessarily, I would say, sometimes, or most of the time, maybe they're unhealthy relationships, because if all you do is just complain, then and you've got nothing else, that's not good. But it's definitely been proven that it's a strong way to build bonds, and Hitler did a lot of that. But I think we have to talk about these things on like a global scale, and as a global society, we've kind of evolved to the point where we understand that the strongest person physically, whether that's like, or I should maybe say the most violent person,
has the responsibility.
Dominantly. Well, they shouldn't be the person that gets everything. And we see this in a small scale in our society where we go, just because someone has a gun doesn't mean they can take your land. We have laws around this. It shouldn't be the strongest person is able to take everything and go with that. So that's why we have things like the UN, where they say if someone does get to be the strongest person, I guess, and start making all these nukes or whatever, they shouldn't be able to take whatever they want. But the problem comes in where, and we see this with America in World War II, where countries kind of care a lot about what's going on in their own. They're going to enforce their own laws. They're going to say, don't shoot people and whatever because you're the strongest person within, like Australia. However, when it's happening like away from where we can see and we're away from what affects us directly, countries tend to not care as much, I guess. And that's where it becomes quite hard because like the US didn't really get involved in World War II until their own Pearl Harbor, their own country, got attacked, and then they were like, well, stuff this, we're gonna
Mexico in their backyard, Japan and islands.
And also, like, being in Japan, this is crazy, like a little bit of a side note, but I went through the museum in Hiroshima, and it's absolutely hectic. Like, it was really confronting, and a huge part of those bombs dropped was like really politically, economically motivated. Like, America didn't want, because Japan had basically stopped doing everything by the time that they dropped them, and they were like reaching peace treaties. They just like, there was like some things like they wanted their emperor still be in control and whatever, but it was Russia or like the USSR that was doing all of the talk, and then like America were like, we don't want that happening, so we're gonna go and just drop some bombs, man. Pretty crazy. Like, I didn't know that until I went to that museum. I was like, geez, hectic stuff. Yeah, it's hard because our countries don't tend to care so much about what's happening all the way over the other side of the globe.
Yeah.
So, Fresh, I'm like a little bit interested in your thing. So like in terms of like intervention on behalf, like and I'm not saying that like I'm okay with like Australia being like they're doing a bad thing in terms of our eyes. We're going to go and intervene. I definitely agree with the United Nations approach, where you need like a majority of signature nations to approve like an intervention into a foreign nation. I'm 100% down for that. But what's your take on war in the sense of the globe decides the internationally everybody decides they're doing a bad thing, and they say, yes, we are going to sanction war and say, yes, we're going to stop you at any cost, and going to war and committing violence against another country and the potentially innocent civilians of that nation to stop a greater evil.
Yeah, I think that's okay. It's similar to what I would think about like the social contract we have between someone and us breaking into their house. Once that country tears up the rule book, it's like, well, you've violated the terms of what we believe is okay as humans, so we're gonna now try and stop you with force if we can't stop you anywhere else. And
Cool.
and like we see it on smaller scales as well. We've had kind of what do you call it? Almost violent protests and protests that aren't, and then non-violent protests that are the only ways to get some things done, I guess. Or maybe I shouldn't say the only way to get some things done. I would say justifiable. We have, so, and I was looking at like the Hong Kong stuff recently because I know Fly put that in. But maybe you could explain a bit about the situation there. Fly, it's kind of becoming violent protests.
It's slowly becoming. I think it's important to state that the majority of it is peaceful.
Yeah.
I think obviously there's a peaceful way to get your message through, and that's what they're doing. But obviously it's really hard because it feels like the people themselves have gone about this like very non-violent way. But it is really impacting the economy and the way that people that don't want to live their lives. So I don't know, you sort of draw the line in the sand there, because obviously, for big business, it's just destroying it and filling airports with people. But like China's reaction and stuff, and there's like a lot of aggression there. Obviously, there's an army stationed outside Hong Kong right now. You know, things are getting really bad as because China just wants to establish their dominance. Wraps all the way back up to Africa about what we're saying about fighting moral wars and the situation Africa's in right now as a whole. And we have the ability to go in there and do something, but we're not. And instead, China is bankrupting the entirety of Africa so they can own it, lending them massive amounts of money they know they're never going to be able to pay back, practically just claiming them, you know, taking advantage of the situation they're in rather than helping them is what we're realistically doing. That's the same with Hong Kong. Was trying to take advantage of them, and the people fought back, and it's just the same thing using your military as, you know, an intimidation tool, not to help people, but to, you know, protect commodities and, you know, claim dominance over entire cities, entire civilizations.
Yeah.
Do you think the same thing would happen in America if the people decided that something really needed to change, ridiculous protests, but it was against the interests of the country and the commodities of the country? Do you think they would escalate to the point of violence?
I think they did the exact same thing.
They've done it before in like the Civil War. You'd say that would be not
exact same.
Yeah.
They'd take it like 10 steps further too. Because that entire country, the civilians are armed. It's not like anywhere else on the planet. Everyone's got a gun, and those guns are big guns.
Yeah, I think in Hong Kong.
Although,
no, you go.
Okay. So I think in Hong Kong, like compared to like Australia or America, like their government and like their relation with the people is like way different than what it is like here. Like I don't want to say like, like it's not a dictatorship, but it's much more of that than it is. Like, I feel like the people there would be much more upset with their problems than they are ours. And like, because I think it was on like Twitter or something today, they're pulling down like towers for like facial recognition towers because they're feeling like they're being watched, like, which they are. And just crazy stuff like that. Like, I don't feel like we have here. Like, it's not as much. We don't have as much of like invasion of privacy here, like as they have.
Like China. Well, that's what they're fighting for is protect privacy and protection of their rights. Because what China wants to do, because although Hong Kong's part of China, it's run as more as a city-state. I believe. And what's done it is that China wants to pass an extradition law where they can just take people. It's not like, no questions asked, just go, yep, mine. You're part of China. Take over the mainland.
Yeah, it's one of those like communist social agendas where it's like if you're going against us or the government in any way, we have a right to like step in to stop you. And so what I think what it boils down to eventually, when you get through all the layers of like, in my personal view, bullshit coverings, what you have is a people in China, in Hong Kong, who were given an actual reasonable amount of freedom for someone that was like overarchingly ruled by a communist government, finally realizing that actually they're part of a communist country and that the communist government has all the military strength and has the final say in everything. And they're going, actually, no, I'm not okay with that. And now I'm going to have protests against it. But protests against communist China have happened before. And what we saw was ridiculous amounts of bloodshed on the point of like the public, the civilian population, because the communist government were like, hey guys, just so you know who's in control here, we're just going to slaughter thousands of you. You know what I mean? And it's actually really scary. It actually scares me a lot. Like North Korea, like posturing itself, going like, oh, like we're gonna like fight. We've got. I don't know what I'm saying. But
what
like,
are you saying?
Sorry, it kind of scares me a little bit more than like North Korea is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Posturing their like military strength is the fact that China is like borderline more powerful than the US in terms of military strength and in terms of economy.
In terms of economy.
Yeah.
I know that military strength in terms of the US spend a lot of money on it, and they're still number one. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, what happens when China catches up?
Well, they got a hell of
China
a lot of
will
money.
Catch up eventually,
and a hell of a lot of people as well. So they're pretty strong.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, they
anyway. But sorry, not to get away from the point, which we were talking about the protests and the violence and how they've been very peaceful, and the violence is spilling over. And I personally think it's inevitable in that situation where you've got people who are peacefully protesting, saying, hey, by the way, there's like a social line here that we're not actually okay with you, the government, crossing, and the government going like, lol, jokes, that line is actually like way over there. You guys didn't even know it, and I personally think there's going to be violence there no matter what. And it's terrifying to me. It's
hard though, because they have a different agreement because they were given back to China.
Yes, raised British, aren't they?
Yeah, by the British. So it's kind of like they've lived a certain. It'd be like if in Australia suddenly the UK was like, actually, we're gonna come and like define all of your laws, and if you do anything that says, because the main thing is like that in China, the media suppression and that they can't say anything bad about the China and they're going about the Chinese government and so on. So they're gonna enact this law which retroactively also applies to anyone who's previously said anything bad about the government. So let's say I said something bad about England, and then England in 10 years passes this law that says I can be tried in England, and also England's as bad as China where they just take people and you don't see them ever again. That would be something that I'd be like, well, I feel like, well, me or anyone else would be justified in protesting non-violently or violently.
Yeah, it's a hard one because, like, you know, nations have gone to war over, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? And I know they said England because it kind of relates to the whole the fact that we're actually like part of the Commonwealth in Australia, but like it's more like if Tasmania, you know, was actually like, oh, by the way, Australia, we don't agree with your laws.
Yeah, true.
You know, because it's like an island that's like right there and like is like a part of our nation, kind of. You know, I mean, yeah, Tasmania is not really a part of Australia, but sorry. But you know what I mean. You know, like it's very close and it's very immediate to the situation. It's like bordering, and you've also got the fact that whereas with England, like the England military might of the England nation, like the Commonwealth, is a lot greater than Australia's. You know, it's
but
the same
it comes
thing.
back to the
like if it was Australia and Tasmania,
yeah,
you know, like we have the military might.
So it comes back to we shouldn't, but then we shouldn't. You know, the person who just has the most might shouldn't be the person who rules or has the power. No. They have the responsibility to be de-escalating the situation, and then you would hope that a thing like the UN, which doesn't, I don't know, even the UN even works. You'd hope that the UN has the most power because it's got the collection of all the nations. They say, de-escalate it, guys.
It's like that kid that's whispering in the corner trying to de-escalate a situation. Hear them. They are. They don't really do anything. Nothing meaningful on a large scale at least.
Very bloody UN, man.
Yeah, but it's like with an army station on your door, when would you feel like it's okay for them not to like militarize themselves, but to become more violent and more forceful with their protests?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there a chance of us having a bathroom?
Oh, P-Rex, yes.
I know we did talk about it.
How long have we actually been going for? How long have we been going?
An hour and
an hour and 40? Oh my goodness, we're actually going for ages.
40.
Okay, we'll have a pee break and then we'll come back for like half an hour because we don't want to go too long.
Not that I need to go.
No.
All right, 3 minutes. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Let's go.
Oh,
There we
right.
go.
So when we're on the break, I
That's
had a question. So in Hong Kong, obviously, like there's like these protests are becoming violent. Do any of you guys think that you'd ever like involve yourself in a protest like that? Or have you ever like previously like been in a protest?
Well, I think Fly has,
Uh,
hasn't he?
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, I have
I've
two.
done.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh,
Granola riots.
Yeah, right.
I would.
do tell us.
No,
do
sorry.
tell us.
Wow, that was toxic.
I
Yeah,
didn't hear what you
I'm just
said.
asking. What was the protest?
I've been to one, so I went up to the Adani mine with my mother to protest that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, environmental.
yeah,
Good.
that whole shebang.
Good.
That makes sense.
And what about yours,
Yeah.
Aaron?
Mine was environmental too. So about like 6-ish months ago in like Sydney, because like I go to uni in Sydney, like there was some protests going on around it was about climate change. I can't remember exactly anymore, but yeah, it was a climate change protest, and it was like outside the town, the courthouse surrounding that situation. But
Okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I've never. However, if I felt like my protest would facilitate change and it was something that I felt passionate enough about, I
mm,
definitely could see myself protesting and would be protesting.
yeah,
Yeah, whether or not I
This,
see myself violently protesting is a different
this podcast is basically a violent protest, guys. So you're all involved now. You're all on board now.
fight me
But-
IRL.
yeah.
Mm.
Like I don't think in the current like place, like in Australia, unless something was to drastically change, I could see myself being like a violent protester. But obviously, like in Hong Kong, they're a lot more like oppressed than we are.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Well, what about and you said you were talking about climate change and environmental issues. What about it keeps on going? You know, this government keeps on, or our government that we keep on voting in, or that we're voting in,
Yeah,
keeps
so
on
yeah.
denying it and keeps on not making the changes that not only you but quite a significant portion of our population want to see. And it keeps on going to the point where we start seeing negative effects. People start dying because of it. Surely at some point you go, we have to overthrow the government.
Yeah, because this was like the protest was prior to like the federal election that Australia had like however many months ago, and like I could like hear people talking about like saying stuff like that, like we could overthrow them if there was enough of us. Like I know there's enough of us that could do it, and like it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh man, like I don't want to, go to jail, but yeah.
It's a terrifying thought because like societies throughout the ages have done this. You know, like revolution is not like a new idea.
Yeah,
but like it keeps on happening because at some point, if there's the elite in power who refuse to change based on the majority of people, shit goes down.
Yep.
You know, and it's terrifying because I feel like if you're born from like 1980 onwards, approximately, you really don't have a lot of experience with having to like combat your government
true.
In the Western world. Combat the government on issues.
In Australia,
if you're white, but
okay, all right.
but like
yes,
so,
100%.
I mean,
Wait,
like even in like America,
white. Sorry. And confirm Fly is white.
The whitest
Background is
cast with a
white as well.
ghost.
So like so for example, I was actually thinking about this as well. So how far is violence justified? So in America, they're especially with Trump trying to enact all these immigration or anti-immigration stuff. If you've lived your entire life in a country and then someone is saying, okay, we're going to forcibly now remove you from this country, I would feel like it'd be okay. I don't think it's the ideal situation because I think we dissolve into some sort of anarchy if we all just start getting violent about things. And I wouldn't what would you say, advocate for it. But I would say that it's probably justified in a lot of cases when people have a violent response to that and say, "No, I'm not gonna do that." What do you guys think?
Yeah, like I think it's sad. It's sad because when, and I think it's kind of I don't know the science behind our psychology of human beings. I'm not a psychologist at all, but I feel like there's something inherent in human nature where you have two completely conflicting ideals, And when you get to a point where there's like no breathing room and you cannot move past each other, it's inevitable that it comes to violence. I feel because it's happened so many times through the ages, and I would love nothing than for us to be able to be like the bigger people and step beyond the mark. But you see it even today in terms of like the American elections. You know, when Trump gets elected by the political system that they've put in place, that everybody for the last 100 years or whatever has decided is the fair way to elect people, and then Trump gets elected, and there's violent protests, there's people going like crazy about him. Even though I'm not a Trump supporter, I think that he was fairly elected based on the system that there is put in place by the people of America, you know? And wait, I completely lost my train of thought.
Sorry,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry.
or just
What was
like
the point I was making there?
in quick
There is
response to
so
that.
much more than just votes behind that.
Yeah,
There's
because
so much money, so many companies.
Yes, yeah, I don't know, and I know that there's like American political system is very corrupt,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
it's wrong. I personally think. However, they were totally fine for that political system, the
for
majority
him
of
to get in,
America,
yeah.
when Obama got voted in, using the exact same political system.
Well, that doesn't
Or
make it fair. Just because they're both using it.
I have to like step in. Sorry,
No,
with
that's all right.
like with Australia, like it's based on like votes as a whole, right?
Yes.
But in America, when it's a presidential election, they do it by state, and like within those states, they have
Gerrymandering.
that's it, yeah,
Okay.
and like some of these I don't even know what to call them, like towns, I guess, have more of an influence than other towns in that same state, and some states have more influence than other states. So like I can't remember what states it was, but if you win like XYZ states, you've basically got it, no matter if every other state votes in the other elective.
Yep. So
That's where I have a problem.
Was the political system vastly different when Obama got?
I honestly couldn't tell you, but I know it has changed. I don't know how it's changed, but I know recently there's been a lot of like push for some states to like define what towns, like where they extend to like adjust, like to like be.
Yeah.
I'm not wording myself, like to prefer the party that's already in power.
Yes. No, I definitely agree with you, and I definitely think corrupt, but I'm not. I don't
Yeah,
want to
that's
get
a whole
into.
other argument.
I don't want to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
into the political. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about Trump because I'm not a Trump supporter. Just to put that out there, please, everybody. However, what I'm saying is that you see it with in a very modern time, like this is literally a couple of years ago, where there's violence breaking out because of what is the political system, the democratic political system that like the elite have put into place in America, and there's violence breaking out because of the decisions they've made. And I think that you get these ideals. You see it even with the gender debate, where you've got like men versus females, and there's like everything is coming to a head where at some point you go, well, I'm a man. So like if it's a choice between like if we got like, let's say the women eventually get onto like equal standing with men in terms of like physicality and their role in society, which I don't think we're quite there yet. But then if it got to a point where it was like there was women being like, fuck them, we need to like dominate them like they've dominated us for the last like whatever years. All right. I think that it's sadly part of kind of our human nature that we will come to a head and be like, well, Aaron, I know you're a girl and I'm a guy, and therefore I have to choose the male side of this because otherwise I'm fucked.
I get you. Yeah,
and if
100%.
you're going to choose the female side, then you're my enemy.
Yeah, but a lot of like the protests, like in regards like in America with the president being elected, a lot of the places where the violence and like the protests were happening in places where they didn't vote him in, and so like there's no real change coming from that. Like, if you get what I mean.
Yes, yeah, and I'm not saying that there's necessarily change. I'm more talking about the violence aspect of it, and that they came to a point where they were like, I cannot physically accept Trump as my president because
I'm going to take it and make it physical.
Even though he was voted in by the majority of the country or the political system of the country. Therefore, I'm going to take it physical because I'm at a crossroads where I can't my mind can't comprehend that barrier, and that I can't go past it, and therefore the only way for me to get past it is physicality and violence. And I think that we've seen it throughout the ages in human history, where you come to a point, and Fresh was saying, like, Fresh, you said that there's obviously a point in any governmental system where if the views of the government aren't in line with the people and they refuse to change, that things are going to come to a head.
Yeah.
And it's very sad, but I think that usually that comes to a head with.
Yeah. So I just want to backtrack a little bit. Were you implying that because Trump is democratically elected that we shouldn't enact violence, or we shouldn't react violently to things that he legislates?
No, because I am not necessarily against revolution.
Okay, yeah.
But it depends on what that revolution is against.
Yeah.
So the example that I was using, Trump, he was democratically elected by the people of America using the political system that was in place at the time of the election. Okay. I don't think that you can protest that. He is now your president. What you can protest and what you can violently protest to change is the electoral system.
Yeah, and like towards like influencing
Trump,
people to a new.
Yes. And when Trump says, okay, actually we're rescinding Obamacare. If you disagree with that, you can disagree. Tough, but you can disagree and violently revolutionize and protest against that decision, but not against Trump, because he was democratically elected using that system.
And like, there's nothing, you're not going to change the fact that he's in, like, there's nothing, no protest will do that, I don't think. Like, that in like the laws in America, the laws in America state that, like, when they're elected, they're there for 4 years, and that's that.
Sorry, so like, does that answer your question, Fresh?
Yeah, I guess.
Did you want to clarify further? I feel like I didn't quite answer it. I'm not sure.
Well, I was just saying back in that, like in the same example that I used before, do you think that you could? So maybe I'm still not saying that I'd advocate for violent revolution, because I don't think that's a way we should do society. I think it gets a bit messy if we all advocated for that. But I still think maybe it's a different thing. So like people could probably still justify violence against these people who come to enact either taking you from your home or even I don't know if you can then extend that to. So it's like the self-defense argument. So if someone's coming at you with a knife, you have a certain amount of violence that's justified to stop them from harming you. Violence to stop violence. If someone's coming to remove you violently from your house or from your country, how much violence is justified to, I would say violence is justified to stop them from doing that. Not necessarily like campaigning. Well, yeah, not like trying to overthrow Trump, because you can't so much do that.
Yeah.
And then can you even extend that to, so our agency in electing our leaders is through our votes, right? So if we agree that violence is sometimes justifiable, depending on trying to stop further violence, if people are voting in a way that's going to enact violence on you, are they also, what would you say? Are they responsible for this violence that's being enacted on you?
So for example, Germany and Hitler and the Jews, the Jewish people, sorry. Because the public voted in, because it was democratic, Hitler's election.
Yeah,
they voted in Hitler, and they continued to vote in Hitler, and were complicit with him. Going, actually, we're not going to have elections anymore, and not violently protesting and stopping it. Are they then responsible for the Jews?
Yeah, so let's say you've got a
situation with the Holocaust.
A German person and a Jewish person and their neighbors, and the German person's like, yeah, I voted in Hitler, so you're screwed. Is that Jewish person justified in violently acting towards that German person?
If I'm not wrong, well, I could be very wrong, but in the time that Hitler was in power, I don't believe Jews were allowed to vote, or like they had less of an influence in the voting process. So I don't know how democratic in the terms of Hitler and like in that party, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit
So
cloudy.
I think yes.
So if your neighbor was like, let's say you're a Mexican and your neighbor was a Trump voter and they had like the Trump pickets out the front and they were like, yep, we're voting in Trump, you need to get the hell out of here.
No.
No.
So okay. So there's okay. What I have said, and I need to retract, is violent protest. All right, because there's violent protest, which kind of strikes me as more of like a, I don't know if you're Australian, you would know what this is, but like Cronulla riots kind of thing, where there was like some sort of protest going on, and then it got completely out of hand, and they were being very violent to a lot of different people and a lot of property. That's the violent protest, which I don't agree with. However, violent revolution, if necessary, is something that I'm okay with.
Yeah, I agree with that, to be honest.
Wait, so it's a Hong Kong.
Because violent revolution
is
not. It's a nicer way to say democratic war, I think.
Wait, well, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what the difference is.
So you've got a protest, all right? There's a peaceful process, all right? There's looting and pillaging and hurting people's property just because you're in a mob and the protest is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
All right? Which we see quite a lot. And then there's people deciding that they are that they are actually taking over the country and taking over the rules and making a change no matter what. And that's a civil war.
Okay. I'm going to go back to what you said before work when you said there's 5 guys, the ones that punched you.
Yes, yeah, the people.
Let's go back to that. So we'll use Germany as an example. A lot of Germany didn't agree with what was happening, but it's the exact same situation as you're just one person up against the military amount of Germany, which was insane at the time, and so much like that situation. Like you were saying, I just wanted to protect myself. I thought, as much as I want to fight, I roll over, I'll take the punch, I'll act more drunk. You didn't think about the fact that they're going to walk down the street and hit someone else, someone possibly weaker than you, say a girl. What happens if they walk 50 meters down the street and they walk into a girl that's 5'2", weighs 100 pounds? That's not going through your head at the time. You just think about what's in the backyard. Me. You think about yourself.
Yep.
It was like a tyrannical government. Like you're not going to stand up to that. You're just gonna
not by yourself.
Not by yourself anyway. There was really no outlet for them to just fight together.
So fresh and a little bit flight. Like I think what you're getting at is isn't a violent protest actually just a revolution, an attempted revolution that was too small, so it got squashed by the government?
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if I'm not really asking if they work or if I'm more saying like are they justified? Could people be like through any like system that we would think of something as being okay to do? Would that be okay to do? Would you feel like someone's like evil if they did that?
Well,
no. Think of it if like survival, like Venezuela, if they rose up aggressively, I'd be like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so with that voter, so the Trump voter situation, would you say, so these people they're not actually going to that person isn't going to personally forcibly remove you from the country, but they are participating, their agency is in their vote that participates in forcibly removing you from the country. I feel like that person has justification in self-defense. Stop. Doing that.
100%.
But I wouldn't advocate for it because then our country just goes because we like all start like
100%. Obviously, we do. You do all you can, and
well, it's like it's cut out for what you all do. You can and what?
Like you do all that you can do within your political structure, within our democratic Australian whatever, to do to make change. But there is a breaking point. And I think it's kind of built into us that that breaking point ends up being violent.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I want that to happen. Obviously, the ideal is that the change happens before we get to that point. But there is always with government, like the whole idea of an overarching government and someone that is in control of, like, the minority that's in control of the majority, which is what our government is, even though they're voted in democratically, where they have more power than us because we've elected to give them that power. And if they abuse that power or get the ability to abuse that power, then shit can go wrong. And I think that when shit goes wrong, violence happens.
Yeah.
When we're talking on like a nation level.
Yeah.
With the whole protesting thing, like, you know, the whole like talking about New Zealand, for example. Ever since New Zealand, you know, Englishmen came over here and took control of the country, and there's still protests today about that. And they're not violent in any way. I don't know much about it specifically, but I just see, you know, on some statuses of other people on Facebook and stuff like that. There's loads of protests going on about land at the moment. You know, sacred land and stuff like that. And it's, you know, that's nothing's violent at all. There's nothing. I don't hear about, you know, police having to step in ever. It's very peaceful, and it's still very effective in that way.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, that's
I agree. And I think those, like, I think they'd be fully justified in violently protesting. But once again, I don't think it's maybe not the most useful way to do things, but you could definitely be like, yeah, I would see why you'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not to move on, but I feel like we're kind of at one of those places where we all agree a little bit on the fact that, like, violence is not really something that you should be doing, but there is definitely a point where violence is kind of acceptable. I wanted to talk a little bit about video games, because obviously being on Twitch,
I was gonna ask about that.
We play quite a few video games.
We should do like maybe. So I'll just say like maybe 1 to 2 more topics, and then we should wrap it up.
Cool.
Go play
so I was thinking about it through the week, and obviously there's quite a lot of shootings in America, and especially there was one recently where they talked a lot about the fact that video games and movies and TV show violence, so violence in video games and violence in movies and TV shows, contribute to the violent tendencies of our young people and the people that are in our society and the people growing up and whatnot. I was wondering if you guys have anything to say on that, or if you have any opinions.
Yeah, mine's like...
Yeah, I'm like... Wait, is my mic on mute?
Yeah, no, we had you. Yep, you were.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think I'm a bit weird. I think it does in some aspects, but it also doesn't. I think you have a 7-year-old who's playing Fortnite where there's guns and shooting. He's going to get influenced by that. If it's not then, it's later in his life that he'll make the connection that, oh, this thing that dad has kills people because I've done it on Fortnite for like the last 3 years. I think that's always going to happen. But to go off topic, there's too much anger at games and not about parenting.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Fortnite's a 13+ game. Like,
don't let your 7-year-old play it.
Simple as that. I was teaching a year 4 class, and the kids were talking about GTA, and I'm like, what?
Oh wow!
Like,
far out.
Like talking about like strip clubs and blah blah blah.
What?
And I was like,
far out,
yeah,
man.
and I was
That's
like, what is being said?
They're like 9 years old.
9 years
That's
old,
crazy,
and I was
yeah.
like, holy like, your parents suck. Like,
yeah.
At 9, I was playing WWE.
Yeah.
And
but even that, like,
that is violent too.
Bit risque, yeah. You got those girls in there. They're always scantily clad.
And that's where it comes.
This explains so much of it.
Didn't need to say
Greavesy?
that. Fresh.
I think sport is also very violent. Like, I know a lot of people that play footy and they're taught, you go hit this kid and hurt him. Like, go and hurt him. Like, don't be a girl. I'm sorry, girls, but like that's what's said.
That's what's said.
So what you're saying, Greavesy, Greavesy, is that you definitely agree that there is an influence on very young, very very easily influenced people.
Yeah.
Mainly because they're sponges. Young people are sponges. When you're under 10 years old, you're literally like wide-eyed, soaking in the world. And if what you're soaking in is literally people shooting everybody, then there's obviously going to be some sort of impact. And what you were also saying is like parents need to be responsible for that.
Yeah. So the whole thing about like the video games and crap, like I think there is an aspect to it, but there's too much emphasis at the moment on video games being the cause for this kid who's obviously mentally ill doing the acts that he's doing. And it comes down to other factors such as sport, even can be another factor, or obviously parenting and blah blah blah, mental health. Blah blah blah.
The data seems to say that even with younger kids, the at the most, video games and graphic media like movies and whatever seem to desensitize like some kids to these things, but not influence them in a way that promotes more violent behavior. So
that's
it's
like
they
every
kind of
study I've read on it.
Yeah, like all of the empirical data seems to say if a kid's going to be violent, they were going to be violent. Not so much.
And it might. It desensitizes, which means like to the point of like if they were in a real life situation where they saw someone get shot,
they're not as
they wouldn't be as affected by it like mentally.
That's the same with WWE, but a lot of kids would
back
be
to
like,
WWE.
oh, that kid just got punched in the face.
Yeah,
He'll be fine. He's gonna get up. Like,
true. Yeah, so that's not super healthy.
There's still that little, that thought between connecting your video game to the real world and how you see that. Because the child's gonna see that the way he is like raised. Like if your dad, obviously, if his parents, her parents, are like, I don't know how to describe it. So that thought between the video game, it's okay to shoot people in real life, as well as in the game, to connect those two.
They don't know that.
That kid has to really be in a
can't detach yourself from reality at that age.
But like even some, like I know, like my mum like has told me like she finds it hard to disassociate like watching a violent movie from being her real life, because she finds it so real for her. And like I know especially with young kids, they think it's real, like or they think it's like it can happen in real life. And
yeah, definitely.
What about you, Fly? Do you have any thoughts on the topic?
I think people need to stop looking at it black and white. I'm definitely with Greavesy was saying massive. It has a very small influence on it, as well as just desensitizing people. It can do a lot. It can really do a lot. I think people need to stop looking at it like so black and white, saying that it's just one issue. You're painting a face easier. It's like the left saying it's gun control. Just taking away the guns isn't going to fix everything. There's so many little things that become this big thing, and you just like you've got to tackle it at so many different angles rather than just singling out and just making the decision that that's it. Everything comes from this single little thing.
I think
seeing what working in a school and dealing with kids all the time, the worst things that I see happen in terms of any video games, including Fortnite and any shooter games, is that you can meet and speak with anyone online. You get bloody weirdos like Cat, Greavesy, Aaron, Fly, but just get like you can literally speak with anyone online.
People like you, Fresh.
But like a 9-year-old doesn't need to be speaking with a 25-year-old. We talk about like inappropriate stuff for what 9-year-olds talk about.
I can actually come in here. So on a personal note, my little brother is 16, 15, something like that, and
brother.
He was like 12 at the time. And I found out that he talked to a 17-year-old that apparently lived 20 minutes from my house, and they were going to go meet up and go to the movies.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah,
Far out.
yeah,
And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
why is he talking to a 17-year-old in the first place? Because
Yeah.
I was 17.
yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I'll come. Like,
Oh.
let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What movie are we seeing? And he instantly, like, he just wasn't thinking about it. Like, he didn't think, like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe this person isn't 17. And I said,
Yeah.
like, you're an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
so it didn't happen. But, like,
Yeah.
kids these days have way too much access with the internet
Yeah.
to get themselves in, to everything.
Well, like I remember being told, like as a kid, like you don't talk to people online, like you know. But in saying that, if I didn't talk to people I didn't know online, I wouldn't be like here having this conversation today. So like,
I think there's a difference between talking and doing,
wanting to meet up,
Being
yeah,
and
aware
putting
that
yourself
they
in a
could not
situation
do
where you're at
that.
risk.
It's true.
Well,
When Aaron
I
and
also-
Kat said they wanted to meet up, I was like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
Fly
yeah.
said,
When
I was
every-
like, no.
Yeah,
No,
100%. when you guys were all like, woke, come to PAX.
Woke,
I
come
was
to
like,
PAX. He was like,
oh,
well,
this seems
bet you
sus.
guys
Oh,
online.
About this.
Yeah.
Fly's talking about hotel rooms.
Yeah.
I definitely tried Kiss Woke.
I mean,
Yeah.
Especially now he doesn't
let's
have
be cutie pie.
Yeah.
And
With
But-
those legs, how could I not?
right, those calf
Right.
muscles.
Those shorts.
Right. Anyway, moving on. I do want to get onto this topic a little bit because I would like we all kind of put it in our thoughts. So Greavesy was like use of internet violence. I put Fresh was like can we hitting back at bullies and Twitter posts. So once again that online thing, and I put that I think that there's the role with video games and people say video games, but it's more the communities around video games. I think personally, and this is my kind of take on a little bit, is that when you have a cross age gap community where you have potentially 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-olds talking and conversing on I don't know how old you are. I'm going to treat you as an adult level. I'm going to treat you as a human being level where everything and anything is acceptable, which is kind of what the online community is. You know, I don't, when I'm conversing with people online, I don't differentiate between the people that I'm talking to. I just talk to people, you know, unless I know specifically their age, which 90% of the time I don't. Right. So I'm interacting with you thinking that you're on my level, or like thinking that you're, and so you get these communities built around video games, which, and I'm not saying that all of them are toxic. All right. What I'm saying is there's a lot more acceptance for cross age gap communication that is not necessarily acceptable.
When someone comes
And
into your
I think that it
Fortnite
influences young
stream-
people quite a bit. Greavesy, sorry.
When someone comes into your Fortnite stream, do you think they're old or do you think they're young? Because I think young instantly. I think 12 years old. I think straight away. And until they say that they're older, I still believe that they're this 13-year-old kid who's got on the internet.
yeah.
I mean,
But-
most of the time you can tell by
Yeah,
the
you'd
way
hope so.
they act.
Yeah,
Definitely.
depending on
Small
like what they
communication.
start with
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
Yes and no, because like obviously you meet me in 10.
You cut out there.
Me,
You cut out,
10.
bud.
But I think you were making me 10.
You meet me and you're like, oh, who's this?
Mate,
10-year-old?
you're at 8 at best, just to late.
Wait, what? When did we,
JK.
sorry, are we talking out of 10? Are you saying I'm an 8 out of 10?
8 on a good day.
With the beard.
With a beard, I'm a 10. No, but like, okay, all right, but like,
Right,
but you
right.
know what I mean? Like, it's so easy to get that wrong, and I definitely get treating people like they're younger just to protect yourself and to be careful, but that doesn't mean that even them, by them watching you, they're not being influenced in some way to be more okay with. There's a lot of people on the internet, and I know that quite a lot of us, I like to think, I don't know you all very well, but I feel like I've got a fairly good grasp of your personalities. We're not bad people, but there are bad people in the world. There's people that are white supremacists, you know, who do live stream. All right.
Yeah.
And they might not come out and say, hey, I want to kill black people, but maybe the subtle undertones of their personality and their stream get to a 10-year-old who's watching it. And I think I don't think it's necessarily the video games that get that turn people, that make people maybe have some violent tendencies or go a bit down that path. I think it might be the communities around it. And I think that we, as streamers and as people who, hopefully most of the people watching this have some sort of social conscience, I think we have a very big and great responsibility to make sure that we are policing our discords and stuff for racial, like I would very much
language.
Violent language. I would very much hope that if someone posted a meme in Fresh's Discord, which to be honest goes off,
where's Cat?
Everybody, man, get in Fresh's Discord, plug. But yeah, like if I would like to hope that you would moderate that in some way, or your mods would be like, yo, dude, that's too far. But I'm sure that there are Discords out there, and this came up recently actually, that there was like a thing about Discords and how easily accessible porn is through Discords for underage people.
Surely porn's easily accessible to underage people, like anywhere.
Yes, yes, it is, and that's a problem. However, when you've got the Discord community, and you've got friends
easily
involved,
accidentally accessible, definitely.
Yeah, maybe
other people can post it to you straight up,
and that's just one area, you know. And I think that we have a social responsibility to kind of police that. But there's bad people out there that are like, I don't care if you're 10 years old, come in here and get corrupted and believe my views, and hopefully one day you'll kill a black person. You know, and that's horrible to think about.
The crazy thing about it is, like, most of the people who are ableist aren't actually racist. So like someone who uses slurs, maybe someone even who says like, that's so gay all the time, which is something that
I would never say that.
Yeah, but like some people still do, or even when people call things like retarded or autistic.
I know some people that still use
those words.
Some huge bad words.
Well, the F-bomb for like gay people and stuff is still sometimes used.
Like
N-bombs?
N-words, as in like a dude.
Yeah.
And
kids
they associate that. It's
so there's like a lot of reasons, obviously.
I had that talk with the person, and he fully goes, it's not in a context, in a bad context in any way. But I'm like, he's just like, if you get the word power, the word has the power. But I'm like,
I think, if the word's not like, I think if the word's not like one that was used against like you in the past, like you don't get to decide whether or not it's okay. Like, if you get what I mean?
I think
because like the N-word was used like by like white people against like black people when they were slaves and like all that sort of stuff as a derogatory term. But,
so that's like that one. Even so, the reasons I think and I find that it's good to explain it to these people rather than because if I've come out and been like, you're really racist for doing that, they kind of shut it down and they're like, actually, I'm not racist. And they might not be racist, even though I would say that's racist behavior. I think if you explain to them that, number one, by doing that, they're enabling people who actually are racist. What the hell is everyone laughing about?
It's chat. They're ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Brain facts.
Is this my? I think it was me.
So if you number one, you're enabling people who are racist to just normalize that behavior and think that it's okay and then act in harmful ways to other people. And then number two, if you're labeling things, and I see the gay one like this, the autistic one, maybe the retail one, if people are labeling things as you see as bad, as these groups of people who societally we identify people in this way, that's obviously a harmful thing to those groups of people. They would feel quite harmed by that, I would think.
Yeah.
That's the whole Fortnite community. And I'm sorry, like I was watching a now partnered stream. I'm not going to name him because it's not the time or place. He was in a Discord with about, I think there was 8 of them. He was in a Discord, and everyone that joined, he had to say, "Oh, don't say the N-word. Don't say the N-word. Don't say the N-word." Now I'm growing up. Why would you want to be saying it
Yeah.
in your conversations?
Yeah.
And the fact that like my whole Twitter feed, like probably 2 weeks ago, was just Fortnite kid going at Fortnite kid for being a bot, and it was going and going, and I unfollowed everyone pretty much that was doing it. But Fortnite's community is so toxic, and like
Oh
what's
yeah.
said is like disgusting, especially for little kids. Like I feel like little kids on Twitter now think it's socially acceptable to bag this kid out for not being good at a game. And like I don't know if you've seen Togman's videos. Everyone thinks they're hilarious when
Dude.
it's bullying online.
I had this massive long Twitter like conversation with him. It was so stupid, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it at the same time, just ripping him. He's really toxic. Like his last one was like super derogatory to trans people, and I was like, what the hell, man? Like how are you able to do this online and be okay with yourself?
Well,
I think. Sorry.
Everyone thinks it's fine. Like all the comments, like this is your best work ever.
Like 80 comments like that as well. Like 100%. Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy.
Your audience.
But I don't think people think about it though. People don't think that they could be doing harm. They think, well, I'm not a racist because I like black people.
I have black friends. Yeah,
I have black friends. I have trans friends. I can't be. It's just kind of funny, or they hide behind this guise of comedy, which is just such rubbish, man. It's so annoying. But I do think, and I've said this before a lot of times, the politically left are really silly in the way they deal with it. They just go, screw you. You're racist. I'm cutting you out. And then that pushes people to further dislike that stance and push them further to use those words and that kind of thing, because they're just like, well, this guy's doesn't give me the time of day, so I'm hanging out with my racist friends and so on.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, actually, and I know that this, to be honest, a bit off violence. I guess we're kind of talking about what Fresh you want to talk about and how you can be violent with your words. But I know a couple of people within my community that I probably need to pull up on a few things that I haven't been pulling them up on. And yeah, I don't know. Thanks for the conversation, guys. I'm gonna pull them up on it now.
It's
this is what it's all about.
There's a distinction though, because so people, they will make this argument, right? They'll be like, well, then where's the point? Where do we stop with our words? Can I say things are cancerous because that's offensive to people who've had cancer and that kind of thing? Whereas, and I think that you have to be clear in your distinctions where like cancer is an inherently bad thing and not many people would disagree with that. So saying something that's bad is cancerous, I think is less derogatory than saying something's gay and that kind of thing. Or then people be like, well, then can I use the word moron? Have you ever used the word moron? And I think it's also a societal thing. So we've decided that we still classify people as autistic and retarded. They're like still classifications of
actual people,
of actual disabilities. And but moron's not so much. It was before, but it's not so much societally accepted as people wouldn't think of a group of people as morons so much, but they might think of a group of people as autistic. Well, they definitely would. You'd the thing.
You talking now, I realize that I say things that shouldn't be said. Like I call myself retarded when I die in game.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so retarded. And I realize now, like, that is so offensive to someone that could be watching that actually has a disability. And I'm like, oh, well, now I sound like a complete twat. Like,
hey, one good thing the podcast is done. But no, it's just talking about it helps a lot, I think.
Jumping back to it, it's really, like you were talking about how negative it is for, still trying to be communicating with a massive online. But I think in certain situations and in a lot of situations, people like Fresh and Woke who stream with, in some cases, integrity, you can be really positive influences on a lot of kids and show them that there's a right way to communicate. And you can, woke. But yeah, it can be really good for kids. Like in my petal, because I could run fast in high school and I didn't really have any idea of what the real world was like. Games showed me that I was treated like an adult by people that were older than me, and they had a massive influence, more so than realistically anyone in my life. And it was incredibly positive rather than negative. But because when you do the right thing, you can be so good. And for a lot of kids, they're just dumped in front of a screen. Here, play Fortnite. I don't really want to deal with you. And you can be an outlet to help grow as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Greaves, you'll find that in your career as well, being a
I gotta say,
influencer.
watching Fresh's, I haven't been around for as long as everyone else, but watching Fresh's stream has realized to me that I had to cut out like as much swearing as I could because I got a gutter mouth.
I did.
Yeah,
I've
we were
noticed that
talking
too,
about that
actually.
before we started.
Literally,
Yeah.
I try and not swear as much anymore, but I can't help it sometimes. Like I always swear, and
It's
I'm
such
like,
a meme.
yep.
I swear.
Like,
I don't like
at school.
don't want you to feel that
I
way so
smashed
much.
my
though.
elbow. Like I smashed my elbow on the school sink in front of a group of 4 kids, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then realized I was like, "Oh Jesus!" No one heard it, and I was like,
Okay,
"Yeah." I was like, "Oh no!" Like I've stuffed up here.
Well, yeah, in your profession, you like that's like I used to swear a fair bit when I was in uni and that, but like I just realized that like I find it really hard to be different in different situations. So like if I was swearing at home and whatever, I'll just do it at school, and then you can't do that and your teacher most of the time. Depends where you work, but yeah. That's the only reason I don't want to be judgmental of people who swear, because my gosh, I actually don't find it offensive at all, and I like all my friends swear. It's not like an offensive thing to me. So
Yeah,
I
but
just want to
sometimes
say that.
around youngsters can be bad because we've talked about this before. Like, I was hanging out with my little sisters yesterday. I wanted to spend some time with the family, and within like 10 minutes of it, because I don't really hang around a lot of young kids, and within 10 minutes of it, I already said the F word, I said the C word, I called my dad a bitch because he lost a Mora cart, and I was like, I need to stop. Kids are like under 10, bad influence, not things they need to know.
It's interesting though, because it's just they're just syllables, and we've decided as a society that they're offensive, but then we're kind of deciding that they're not offensive anymore. So very soon they won't be at all offensive. And
going back to like swear words and stuff, thinking when I was a child, obviously German swear words.
Scheißen.
Schnitzel?
Oh.
Scheiße.
Because I grew up, my family was like very associated with church and stuff, so no swearing at all in my household. However, the next house down, my best friends, completely different.
Yeah.
And obviously you spend, 80% of your time in school with friends rather than at home talking to your parents. So, like, obviously you're not going to say specific words around your parents that you're going to say to your friends.
Yeah.
That's what I just realized, that, a few swear words came through my head and where I learned them from, and those all been, people you hang out with, not your parents.
Our the school that I work at is very strict. Like, it's a like high-ish. What the hell are we? What? Arschficker? Is that what you're laughing about? Don't say it. Is it like butt effer? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but it's like worse.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Oh gosh! All right.
Oh god.
Oh my god! I have a meme to share, but I'll wait.
I'll
share it in me.
Oh yeah. Anyway, so the place that I work, the place is it's quite strict. It's quite a high fee paying and like relatively academic school, so they don't allow swearing. It's very strict on that. And kids do swear, and then we have to like eventually, if they do it enough times, you have to call home. And sometimes you call home, and their parents are like, "What? No way, you have the wrong kid." Like, and I'm like, wow, okay. No, he swears all the time. Like, it's just a thing. And they're like, no, not my kid. No,
not
way.
my boy.
Not my good Christian household.
And then they come back. And they don't swear for a while, and then they do it again. So whatever.
Yeah.
What's your main one?
Oh no. I'll it's definitely not for
all right. Okay.
But obviously I'll expect it to be moderated out very quickly. What I wanted to talk about a little bit was we're kind of floating around this idea of words having meaning and words having power. But what about when those words are not just like swear words, but they're actually people speaking out against a certain type of person? Should we be silencing them, or should we be putting them in jail, or should we be? Is that, I know there's like a little bit of a push in like social trends towards kind of like making them an act of violence against the person. For example, if I was to say, burn all the Jews.
Are you PewDiePie? Oh, you are PewDiePie, aren't you, now these days? Isn't that what Law's calling you?
Clip it.
Yeah. Cheap
No,
PewDiePie.
there's no
PewDiePie
bridge
out of
behind
your
me.
mouth.
I
Do
need
not
to
associate
hold
her
up.
with me.
I'll just boot up
lesbian
PUBG.
PewDiePie.
Just give me a second.
Just got it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. No one laughed. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
I was
shit.
like, I thought you were being serious. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. I'm not actually saying that. Please, everybody, calm down. But do you know what I mean? Like if someone
Yeah.
was to say burn all the Jews,
Yeah.
should we be being like, dude, that is a criminal act? Because
So
I
in
know
England,
that
I'm
there
pretty
is
sure
a
it's in
push in
England.
certain countries around the world to make those kind of statements criminal acts.
No, they already are criminal acts because that's a call to
Yeah.
action. So that's
There's a YouTuber name will be able to me in maybe in chat who I think I'm pretty sure he's British. He taught his dog to
do the Hitler salute. Yeah.
do the Hitler
Yeah,
salute.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little pug, and he got arrested and he got taken to court over it as hate speech.
Yeah. Okay.
And he wasn't saying any words. He was obviously doing it as like a troll, as a joke. Like it was obvious that he was doing it as a joke.
Yeah.
Is it
but
funny?
I think because
it
of like
allowed- should we
it's
allow it?
so like I know like so many people would be so heavily affected by seeing like a person do that and like seeing a person like try and train their mindless dog to do it. Like I imagine it would be like, upsetting to those people. But yeah, I don't know.
That
think-
same YouTuber, but he's taught his dog this, but he's also taught this 10-year-old that's watching that video.
That's
They'll
funny, yeah.
Run around and be like, "Oh, I'm the dog from the video doing the Hitler sign."
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, what about dog violence? Animal violence?
Animal violence. We talked about this last podcast.
We talked
Kat.
about that last
one. Woke
Well,
doesn't
getting
care.
your podcast confused.
Woke
In-
tortured dogs can confirm.
Mate, I've ran over multiple. I'm not going to swerve.
Me too, but I felt bad. He didn't.
Huh?
Don't worry. Watch the last podcast.
Let's move on.
Kat.
We're talking
Watch the
about
last
something else.
podcast.
So what would you do? Like, do you guys think that we should be? Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, I know what you're saying. So
You're still on that dog.
No, don't talk about the dog.
So we're not talking about the dog. That was last week's podcast.
There's a case
Yes.
where this chick told, I think it was her boyfriend, or it's the other way around. Someone told the other person to go kill themselves
Yes.
in text message.
Oh yeah,
and the
yeah.
person
The girl
went
it was the
and
girl who
killed-
told the guy. Yeah.
Girl told the guy, go kill yourself, blah blah blah. The guy actually went and killed themselves, and she got charged.
For manslaughter.
Yeah, he was contemplating for like weeks apparently, and like she kept on messaging saying like you can do it tonight, like tonight, like
Was his
let's get it done.
girlfriend?
It was his girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
Hectic.
since been convicted. I
Tell
don't know
him
the
how to
charge
do
or
it.
whatever.
Don't be a
But
pussy.
yeah. Yeah, she was like, yeah, don't like bitch out now, like, get it done, like you're committing to it. And like it's just disgusting, like far out, like
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
So
I think. Oh, sorry, you go. Richard.
I think that like the internet sucks because violent acts such as that. Well, it's not the internet, but like technology sucks because violent acts like that, where like you can't say it to the person's actual face. Like I think violence has increased dramatically since technology advanced because it's so easily accessible to bag someone out. You go on a fake account, you can make fun of them behind their
Keyboard
back.
warriors.
You make
100%.
horrible comments to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, keyboard warrior.
Yeah, all the
been
things that
accused of
like
being that, so.
like bullying online violently, and then the person ends up doing the worst thing possible, like killing themselves and stuff. And then there's no victim. Like I feel there's no victim justice. Like I don't think it's taken seriously enough still about like people that talk shit online. And in my instant, like for me, I think they should get the same punishment as someone
100%, yeah.
doing an act of like physically doing it. If that makes sense, like with their hands.
I think that there's a case to be made for it. I think that there needs to be. I think that we need to. I personally, this is my personal view. I think we need to and actions. And I think that
Sorry, you cut out your
cut out
personal
there.
views.
sorry,
I think we need
my
to.
personal distinction is that I think we need to clear line between words and actions. It's very similar between like we kind of talked on our break a little bit about how that if we allow ourselves to not have this conversation is not going to be had, kind of thing, along those lines. And I think when you start going down that road with words, all right, you end up creating the echo chambers. You start saying, hey, this person knows that they're not allowed to tell that person to kill themselves. Therefore, they start creating like communities of people around themselves that are okay with them expressing themselves the way they want to express themselves. And therefore, they never find out that what they're doing is unacceptable and not normal, because they're in an echo chamber of people who all think it's normal. And I think that's what you do when you limit speech. And I'm very much for, and I know that this is not necessarily like, I know that there's a few probably people that will disagree with me, but like, for example, with the, hey, go kill yourself. I think there needs to be a very clear distinction between telling someone, hey, go kill yourself, and you being culpable for that person going to kill yourself, going and killing themselves.
Because you never know how they're going to receive it. Like,
yes, but I'm not saying that they should be. I'm saying that they should be careful. Yes,
yeah,
a well balanced person would be careful. But if they were to say that to somebody, I would hope that somebody would be like, "Yo, dude, what the fuck?" You know, that's not acceptable.
That
But
term, like, kill yourself is just thrown around. Like,
so you're saying it's morally wrong to do that, but it shouldn't be legislated that people go to jail. So it is already like you can't call people to action. So you can't say kill all the Jews, you can't say kill all the black people, you can't say go kill yourself. Well, I mean that one's definitely glossed over. But if words have calls to action, then that is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to yell bomb in an airport. You know, you're not allowed to say let's go burn all these people and so on. So and that seems like a good thing that we should have legislatively, but you're still allowed to say I don't like all black people, or all black people are lesser than white people, or something like that. That's not illegal to say that, but most people, well, I would hope all people would say that's morally reprehensible.
You're allowed to say it. I'm just allowed to call you a prick when you do it.
Yeah. The interesting. So I think almost everyone agrees that's correct. But the interesting one is if you're on something like Twitter and you say all black people are less than white people, should that be a bannable offense?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, no.
No. Well, he switched.
Yeah, no.
No, I'd say yeah.
If you say it on your own personal thing, that's your personal opinion.
Yeah, but it's.
But yeah. This thing, it doesn't like, because how am I going to word this? It's kind of like, I'm going to bring in gay marriage. Kind of like the gay marriage, every post that was put on gay marriage, there was that one middle-aged white man that said that, like, blah, blah, blah about it. And he'd get all his friends and they would be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I agree, blah, blah. He can, like, I don't think he should get banned for that because that's his opinion. But there needs to be some sort of social justice. Like, like there needs to be a group of other people, which happens, like a group of other people be like, yo, you're a fuckwit. Like, just let you know.
Just letting you know, a bit of a shit cunt.
If he can't put up with that group of people saying, hey, mate, you're a wit for saying that, then he should either delete the comment
in the first
or
place.
he should revert his opinion because he said it and he needs to own up to the consequences of saying it.
With
because there's a lot of people out there, and I think I find this a lot more from the left than the right, that they're totally fine with lynching online a person from the right who says like, like kill all the terrorists, you know, and then all getting together in their little band of merry men and going like, mate, you're a fuckwit, and putting it on his Twitter and basically like going after the guy because of it. But when it's done against them because they say something wrong, they get banned. Like the people that are going against them get banned for it. It's like, oh, if you're targeting this person, then you'll get banned. So for example, there was that big case around hashtag learn to code, where there was like this big group of kind of like left-leaning journalists who had done things saying basically like, oh, you're part of you work in an oil rig or in coal mining and the coal industry, then like why don't you hashtag learn to code, or like why don't you learn to code? And there was like and it became, instead of it becoming a meme challenging these people that were for coal being like, yeah, you should learn to code, it became a hashtag against the people that wrote it, the left-leaning people, where it was like, you can't just say hashtag learn to code to people, like what a shit thing to do. And so when people were putting it back on them, the people that were like putting it on them saying, hey, you're a shit bloke for saying that, were getting banned, not the people that actually said the shit thing in the first place. I feel like I said that terribly.
Interesting. I have no idea.
I just
Don't know
want
what's
to
happened there.
Does anybody know about the hashtag learn to code thing?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the whole
I have no
hate
idea
speech
about it.
thing.
Yep.
What is bad and what should be banned, what isn't banned. Just because you have an opinion about something that could be sensitive to someone else doesn't mean you can run around saying your opinion to everyone. That's what I think it is. That
Why
the
not?
line between
Because
saying it
yeah.
and the line between not, someone who can, plays a video game, for example, online or whatever, and support someone that someone else might not support, and you're all in the same, program, whatever, and you say that's just like the line, you don't think about the consequences of what might happen. See, like, that's just because, I grew up playing League of Legends.
Curious up is used on the regular there, isn't it?
Yes. So people
Yes.
who do that should be banned because they went over that line of not having that process of, thinking, what the consequences might be.
Yeah. So
So of them
think you're
getting banned is just like, some people need to physically, not physically, but something, physically needs to happen for them to realize that it's bad.
The problem with the
Otherwise,
internet,
they're never gonna.
Learn.
Yeah.
the problem with the internet, I feel, is that we all have roughly the same opinion on things because we're all from Australia. Blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
it's gonna be
Old mate that's from somewhere else has grown up in a completely different scenario. Blah 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 from across the world. But I had a guy on Twitter last night. My girlfriend commented on a Taylor Swift post with a snake emoji. He responded to the emoji saying, "Shut your mouth, bitch." That was his response. So I went on there and I was like,
what? Gosh.
like,
That's
next,
crazy.
like, what are you doing? Like, don't call a girl a bitch.
Instantly
Instantly blocked me.
Ah, that's funny. Instant block.
And then, like, nothing.
Oh man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, when I'm gonna go back to your example, Oak. Like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but like, white people are better than black people. I think you said was like an example of a tweet or something along those lines.
Yep.
My problem with it is like, I think everyone's allowed to have an opinion, but when your opinion is like, it's putting down something, like something about someone that they can't change, like it literally doesn't make them any less of a person. If it's like, I'm not wording myself properly, but like, it's offensive to that person, like, and it's not just a silly thing like on a Taylor Swift post, like it's literally about their race and it's about something they can't change.
So 90% of the people that are redheaded find it offensive when people call them gingers.
Well, you're a daywalker, woke, so
Does that mean that
You're autumn
that
breed.
we should that person, if they were to go on Twitter and say, "Lol, fuck all gingers," that person banned Twitter?
If there was, like legitimately, if there's been demonstrable harm caused to the group of people, which there has been.
I think
like,
it's different between like gingers and black people because there's been like, you know, genocides against black people, not against gingers, like if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I
And
think
if
that's
there's
where
and the same with like the gay community. Why are we all laughing? Should we let's what's going on? We're talking about
No,
I
strawberry
have a
blonde.
funny story actually.
It was just my whole ginger thing.
I
actually.
got so online. There was a page and it was like OCE Fortnite Rangers, and Fraser commented me in a post, and I got added to it, even though I'm not Ranger. And I was slightly offended.
Sorry,
I
he's
don't know.
strawberry blonde. He's
Strawberry blonde.
I was offended.
It's an
and I don't
autumn
know
breeze.
why.
All right.
all right. Come on, guys, let's get back on topic.
So if people were saying that being gingerhead is inherently bad, then that would probably be an offensive thing. So we all like, I think we all understand that saying like, I don't think everyone here is saying that saying these offensive things is morally wrong, but some of us are saying that it's okay to platform these ideas. Because of freedom of speech. So
I'm okay with the platforming of the ideas because I want to be able to know who the people are that have those ideas.
Yeah.
I would much rather to have Fly on Facebook saying I hate black people, so that I know that Fly is a racist.
So, but you're
Because
able to,
Thanks, mate.
you're a person who's able to think critically and who's not a racist and who isn't a child. There's a lot of people who can be pretty easily influenced by this, and it can have a really negative impact. And you get people, and even people like PewDiePie, who has a ridiculous influence. And he knows he's done some wrong things like death to all Jews and whatever, and saying the N-word and that. But you have to be really, really careful as an influencer, because like making these things casual and making them, this is what I was saying before. It's ableist behavior where you are enabling the percentage of people who are racist. You're also creating harm to people who are a minority. I feel like Twitter, Facebook, they're all private corporations. They're not under, so someone's not going to go to jail for writing death to all black people on Twitter, but they could get banned from Twitter, and I feel like that's appropriate because Twitter has a set of values that they say we're able to put out there. Yeah,
that's where I was gonna.
It's like my school would say, we wouldn't want anybody who would be incredibly racist to work at the school, and someone shouldn't be allowed to walk around like hating on black kids, and like our school as a private corporation should be able to kick that person out of staff. So private things are a little bit different to legislative and law stuff. Yeah.
Could you imagine Fresh growing up back in the day where
Back in the day,
Aboriginal kids were treated like that?
Yeah.
Like,
I reckon,
crazy.
And that wasn't even that long ago, man. Hey, it's crazy.
1980s or something.
Yeah, that's when they were able to vote. Like, that's
to be
insane.
honest, there's things like that go on these days. You know, like you see it every now and then. I don't know. There was 2 Aboriginal kids a couple of years ago who like suffocated in the back of a police van. And the officers got prosecuted because of it. But like that stuff is still going on up there.
Yeah.
You know, like it might be a little bit removed from our lives in the city, but like it's crazy to think that stuff goes on, and I'm a part of this country. Crazy. But sorry, we were talking about like online
freedom of speech,
online especially. And
I think
Fresh, you do make a good point about how people,
and there's a difference between being offended and people being demonstrably harmed, because we've done demonstrable harm to the black community, we've done demonstrable harm to the gay community. They're not things where we should be arguing like, oh well, people shouldn't be offended, because there is a difference. There's a big difference. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, yeah, I agree. Fly?
Me. I agree with the fact that freedom of speech, it's essential, and people should be allowed to say whatever they want on a platform. And saying that, obviously, you're right, Twitch is a private platform, it's owned by people, they can do whatever they want. But people should be judged on what they say. You're allowed to say you hate black people, But if you lose employment, if you lose employment over people critique you, that's fine. It's like Israel Folau. People were like saying that he shouldn't lose his job over his political beliefs. He did it once. He got a slap on the wrist. He did it a second time. People
It was
went,
in his contract.
yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
You have to deal with the consequences of what you say. You have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean that there is speech without consequence.
Yeah,
Because
freedom
if
of
you're-
speech doesn't mean freedom of consequence.
Yeah,
If
I
your
agree.
company has a certain set of values, it'd be like as if if I worked for like Coke and I went around like publicly saying Pepsi is so much better than Coke, I would be like it's not even that bad, but like I'd be crazy to think that would keep my job if I was anywhere up in the Coke
So
factory.
the debate here is obviously so I know that you're saying like, oh, Twitter and whatever, they're private corporations, but what quite a lot of people say in regards to that is, yes, they might be private corporations, but they're becoming so crucial and so inherently a part of our
That's true.
day-to-day lives and our day-to-day conversation, especially our day-to-day political conversation, that they should no longer be being classed as private companies, and they should be being classed as public domain.
I mean,
Yeah,
because the public can be influenced by social media marketing campaigns by Trump or by Hillary Clinton or whatever, and they can target specific groups on Twitter and Facebook and make them help them to like sway their votes, so that's public domain. When that kind of thing is happening in regards to the political system, that becomes public domain. And I think that right now, Twitter especially, not so much Facebook, because Facebook's a joke,
Shit,
but like Twitter especially is a huge part of it. People get really influenced and have huge social communities on Twitter. And yeah, I don't know. I think it was kind of like, what was the other thing? It was like there was like a call for Trump to be banned off Twitter because he tweets all the time.
there's a call for him to not be able to ban people from seeing his tweets.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, you are
Because
correct.
because as the president of the United States, he is a public figure who's different to the rest of society.
he's the leader of the free world. Like, if you're blocking people on Twitter, like it's kind of petty.
So the same thing, the same argument can be made for me.
No, because you're not the president of the United States.
No. But if I say something offensive, does that mean that I lose my right to know what the president of the United States is thinking? If I'm a US citizen,
what do you mean?
And he's my president, and he is expressing his opinion to the public through Twitter, which he does, and
So
I want to partake of that, and I say something, and Twitter decides to ban me because of it, I can no longer get access to the publicly elected officials.
Well,
you can. Yeah.
So it's like written in that a president is not allowed to make a public statement that excludes people. Basically, you can't. They're not allowed to make public statements.
If you're banned on Twitter, like you can still view Twitter just as like an anonymous.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So so it would be like, yeah, it's just like it's just to say that he's not allowed to block certain people from seeing his posts because he's the president and his posts are kind of important.
Cool. Yeah, I'm down for that.
But I don't think that things that are offensive should be legislated, because then we'd be getting some really, I hate the slippery slope arguments, but we'd be getting into a really slippery slope of like going somewhere crazy with that.
Definitely. All right.
I feel like we should start to wrap up, to be fair.
Yeah. Should we get into some questions potentially?
Oh man, yeah. Forgot about that. Do we have any questions?
You were going to say beer review. I was excited.
I've definitely
review.
Beer review. Yeah, well, we'll go to beer review. We'll just have a look if we got any questions. If you have a question, guys, feel free to post it in the Discord. But we don't. Let's see. Podcast question. Looks like we don't. Hold on. Let me go over there.
None this week. Oh man.
No.
Wait,
no. Kelsey's got one. Here we go.
Looking at the chat. Oh, okay, cool.
All right. Kelsey asked podcast question which isn't really a question, but links to the topic. Okay, Kelsey. Violence against yourself as opposed to against others.
So just observing it.
Violence against yourself as opposed to against others.
So I guess everything we've kind of been discussing tonight has been about us perpetrating violence towards other people in terms of our language, or in terms of our fists, or in terms of warfare or whatever like that. But what about violence towards yourself?
ourselves?
And I think. Oh, this is a hard one.
Wait, what?
I don't
Go
know.
on.
Such a dicey topic.
Yeah.
So I'm
We can
gonna
talk for hours about that.
I'm gonna guess she means like, you know, like self-harming and stuff.
Okay.
So like being like self-destructive, I guess, but that's a whole other argument, like you were saying.
There's a
Obviously, it's just
huge
an outlet
push.
to release pain, which is
yeah,
why.
exactly. Yeah.
There's a huge push at the moment. Like I've seen it all over the news and shit about what's it called? Euthanasia.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Them
and
damn
being
euthanasia.
the ability to like kill yourself and stuff like that legally. It's such a tough one because like at the core of me, I like very much reject the idea of giving
People can't be saved.
treating life like that. Wow. But of
Can't
treating
fully
life
put it
like
with
that.
hand.
However, I definitely understand that I'm in a very privileged position of being a very healthy human being, and I can definitely understand where people are coming from when they're in a horrible position where their quality of life is almost non-existent and wanting to end it. And I understand that, but yeah, it's hard to voice an opinion on it. Because
I think it's a great idea personally, only because in the situation where someone is looking to kill themselves and they head to that outlet rather than hanging themselves in their bedroom, realistically, you're going to be forced to see a counselor, you'll be forced to see a psychiatrist for an extended amount of time if they allow you to do that. So you're always going to, in that situation, you're put into a place where you can actually improve, where they can actually save your lives instead of you just, doing something without seeking the help or getting the help that you actually need. We have no right to force you to live here. So if that doesn't work, like, what can you do?
Yeah, in Australia, like technically suicide is like it's murder, but instead of like, being sentenced to prison, it's like kind of like a sentence to like a mental institution, like to get you help. Like obviously like this is people who have like attempted to like kill themselves. But yeah, that's just something I remember learning, which I thought was interesting.
It's definitely a hard topic to talk about, and it makes it even harder because I am perfect. I feel not to like toot my own horn, but like I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. Like I'm mentally.
Look,
yeah.
You're pretty good looking, woke, but man,
I'm in 10.
my opinion of yourself.
We decided an 8 out of 10, guys. We decided on that already.
I just want to ask, because Kelsey's back now. Do you mean self-harm, like violence as in self-harm, Kelsey? Or do you mean as in like the environment and making the decision of not leaving the environment and harming yourself that way?
Right.
That's interesting.
Good question.
Because being in a toxic environment and not doing anything about it is being violent towards yours. But violent is such a word.
Yeah, maybe not violent. Yeah.
Both was just in general.
Just being negative towards yourself, I guess. Not helping yourself out.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, non-suicidal self-injury is just it's a hectic topic and it's very common these days.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I guess nothing we say will, because we're not qualified psychiatrists, psychologists will be able to prescribe anything or help. Yeah, but
that if you're thinking about it at all or want further conversation about it, then you should probably talk to someone that knows something about mental health and things of that nature, which I do not, and I don't feel qualified to talk about it.
Yeah. Exclamation mark help if you want some help.
Only question.
Yep, that's the only question.
Saying that, Brooksy's been typing for about 20 minutes, and I'm not sure if you want to wait.
Brooksy.
But I can see it.
Brooksy, finish your thoughts, Brooksy. Finish your thoughts, mate.
It's it there. I don't want to like stop.
Doesn't matter how it's worded, Brooksy. You finish those thoughts, mate.
We'll get there
does anybody have anything else they want to talk about I know that it's covered from the notes that we had. Or do we want to get on with beer review and potentially Brooksy might finish his thoughts or her thoughts?
We got Brooksy's thoughts. Here we go. We'll do that and then we'll do beer review. Okay. All right. Here we go. What would be your opinions on people of power, i.e., police, and how they perceive violence? Do they abuse their power sometimes?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Sometimes, yes. I think
Sometimes, yes.
there's a real witch hunt
yeah.
in America as well, which is really sad to see because you're calling out people who really aren't doing that much bad just to fit an agenda. Because there's people doing a lot of bad, and then you're just going to take another group of makes the situation look worse than it is. It's really hard because there is an actual witch hunt, and there really isn't like a line drawn in the sand like woke says. It's like, this is right, this is wrong. There's not really any of that. It's really up to perception. Really, really hard. Really hard topic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there is, once again, a line that you can draw in the sand where you say this behavior is acceptable.
Well, I'm saying that that line.
And I think that sometimes with our police, we don't draw that line because we kind of give them license to go beyond what is necessarily considered legal to keep us safe from harm. And I think that power goes to a lot of people's head. It's a similar situation with war where you go, well, we're putting you in this situation because we really desperately need someone to step in to fix this situation that is terrible. But then in those situations that we put those people in, the power goes to their heads and they cross the boundary, and you end up with like war crimes by people that are supposed to be on the good guys' side. You know, I think it's a situation where whenever you give someone license to step beyond beyond the law in terms of violence, that there's always going to be some people in that role that take it too far, or the power goes to their head. That's my view, and I think that we need to lay down more of a firm law and be like, hey, if you do that, you're no police officer. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. We seem to have less of a problem here than they do in America. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, thank God.
Oh God.
And I think half of that is down to the fact that police don't feel threatened for their lives every time they stop.
I think it's just because their country is so huge. There's different laws in every state, and
and
it is a crime.
With a greater population, you get crazy people.
Just a large amount of.
Yeah, just the percentage.
I've met a couple Aboriginal community members, and they said to me, I'm not Aboriginal, by the way, but they said that police brutality is still a thing in their communities.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
They believe. So, like, people can say, oh, it's not really that bad in Australia, but that's because we're probably not, like, we don't show it. Or
we're not affected by it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm definitely not saying that it's not there. And, like, I've seen some hectic things. Like, Aboriginal people who are locked up, like, die. Like, not often, but, like, it happens, like, and it's terrible. But I'm just saying, like, the black people in America seem to have it worse. It's hard to say what's worse when they're both just terrible, but like, it seems slightly better. I don't. Yeah, I shouldn't say it's better because it makes it seem like it's perfect.
I think there's a lot of people in Australia that does it worse, but I think it's pretty consistently across America, from one state to the 52nd, or however many it is. There's a lot of racism, or at least stereotyping.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And then the guns just like compound the problem because
every single time you take a traffic stop, you're fearing for your life.
It's the power balance. Like police in Australia have so much power because they have more guns than the average person. So like
more guns in the US than people.
Yeah, it's just a balance. Like they're all super balanced out. All right, that's all the questions
in the podcast.
That is all the questions, guys. Shall we move on to the beer review and finish up?
Beer review is next, ladies and gentlemen. I hope. Now we're on real content.
That's review.
What did I say? Oh my god, guys! Why didn't you do it in time?
Do it again. Go, countdown.
Beer review.
Hey, that was pretty. That was okay.
Actually,
that was
guys,
alright.
Credit to you. That's the best it's been yet.
That's the best.
That
it's
is
been.
honestly the best it's been
Well
yet.
done.
Like,
Well done.
I don't
Yeah.
know the guests we've had on previous podcasts. Fly, I know you were there. You were terrible before. You did all right this time. All right, great job. Cheers. I'm gonna go first. I'm just
Yep,
gonna
go.
shoot straight into it.
Let's go.
Go. Let's go.
Beer review. So for everybody that doesn't remember, because it was like 3 hours ago, I was reviewing the Feral Brewing Company East Coast IPA called Biggie Juice. I had it
Great
on my
beer.
screen so you can
Great
actually
beer.
see it.
Top 10.
Yeah, there it is. Great beer, fantastic beer. In terms of the categories, so appearance out of 2. Obviously, I love the can. Like it kind of looks like a tattoo. It's got color. The branding of like Biggie Juice sounds really cool. It's obviously got those like American rapper connotations. They've done really well with the branding. In terms of the look of the beer, it was a lot cloudier than I thought it was going to be. For most like IPAs that I drink, it was like it was like I thought it was like a cloudy IPA when I poured it, which was a little bit weird. It kind of threw me off a little bit, but because there was so much sediment. After a while, I did find on the packaging roll before opening, which kind of makes more sense, but I didn't see that beforehand. So if you were looking at it and it's kind of small writing and thought, oh, it's an IPA, and you poured it, you'd be like, what the heck is like sediment all through this? So I'm going to lose it points for that, but I'm going to give it a 1 out of 2 for appearance.
All right.
Just because of the branding. It's very, very good looking. The taste, well,
I remember you saying it was spicy earlier.
Yeah, so like it was kind of weird. So I think it might have something to do with the sediment that's in it. So maybe if you don't roll it, you get more of it at the bottom because you don't really notice it while you're drinking it. But there was a couple of times where I got to the bottom of my glass and I was like, oh, like man, it's like almost chili. And I know I said spicy before, but I'm gonna clarify for flavor's sake. Like it was kind of like there was like a little bit of chili in it, and I actually really appreciated it, and I kind of wish that had kind of bite to it throughout the rest of the beer that I was drinking. However, even despite that, the rest of the beer that I was drinking was fantastic. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. No, a 9 out of 10.
Whoa, okay.
Sorry.
Not bad.
For taste, not bad, eh?
I'm
Not
happy
bad,
with
eh?
that.
Good
Not
size.
bad.
So
In terms of drinkability,
Oh.
I'm just gonna hold
Whoa.
Oh.
Christian Minecraft server.
and say I definitely could drink quite a lot of that. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, an 8 out of 8 for drinkability.
Oh wait, whoa.
So,
Dang.
what does that
That's
bring me
a
to?
high
18 out of
score.
20. That is,
Yeah.
man,
is-
I definitely recommend it. If you haven't tried it, definitely get on it.
Yeah.
Biggie Juice, Feral Brewing Company, East Coast IPA.
I was saying before he started, it's in my top 10. It's a really good, really good
18
beer.
out of 20. I mean,
Yeah.
out of the beers that I reviewed so far, that's
It's your
my top
highest,
2.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, I'm next on the list. So I'll go next. I went with the Nail Brewing Red Ale. In terms of
Not a
appearance,
green bottle.
it's very not a green one. Finally, it's very red. It makes sense. It's a very red ale. So it gets a 1 there. But
Isn't it a red pale ale?
it's just called a red ale. So I give it a 1 for its. I wasn't surprised that it was red, but it like Fly was saying at the beginning, it looks like super Russian. It's like it's totally
Russia.
like I don't know if you can tell, but like the red is just like Soviet Russia. Like when I look at it, and that weirds me out. So I'm
My
taking
beer
a point
tastes
off
like
there.
communism.
Tastes like I'm all for the free market, guys. So I'm giving it a 1 out of 2 for appearance. In terms of taste, it was pretty standard. It was pretty standard red ale. Like not amazing, definitely not terrible. So I'll go with a 6 out of 10 for taste, and then drinkability, because it's pretty standard. It's I could drink it all night. I probably wouldn't love buying a carton because it's a bit bland. So I'll give it a what are we out of 8 for drinkability? I'll give it a 6 out of 8. So
6
that's
out of 8.
12, 13 out of 20 altogether.
Boom.
Not bad. Not
Not
great.
bad.
Not bad.
Not great.
Not
Not
bad.
bad. I definitely recommend you try the VPA.
Okay, we'll do.
the very pale ale.
Nail
By
Brew,
Nail.
BPA.
Maybe next time, or
Yeah.
maybe not next time. Maybe down the track a bit.
I'll try it
Don't do
sometime.
back-to-back
Don't worry.
pale ales. Alrighty, who's next? 69.
That's me.
Ah,
So
It's me.
That's
we
me.
need
it's me.
need a hotel room for that kind of shenanigans.
So I was drinking the 69 Riverside Brewing Co. Summer Ale, and I was saying at the beginning that I bought it purely because it said 69, and these guys don't make good beer. And honestly, just the looks of it, it says 69. It's what I believe is Marilyn Monroe on it, so that's going to be a 2 out of 2.
Oh, very nice.
1 point for 69, 1 point for Marilyn Monroe.
Yep.
It's also a really nice gold color when you do pour it in a glass. Delightful.
Oh.
And then what is it? What's next? Taste?
Taste out of 10.
Taste out of 10.
Taste out of 10. So as far as taste out of 10, I'd say like really, really smooth. It's got no hops. It was like drinking, I don't know, like a soda, like I don't know. It was weird. It was really weird. Its taste really bland. I had no flavor. I'd give it like a 5 out of 10.
Okay, 5.
4 out of 10, something like that.
Yeah.
Wait,
Not
4 or
even
5?
I'll be definitive.
I'll go 4. 4.
Wait,
Go 4.
Okay.
Go 4.
This isn't a joke beer review.
And then
This is
drinkability.
Serious.
I would give it a 17 because I blinked and I drank all 6 of them.
Wait, a 17 out
Whoa.
of 8?
Yes. Like I blinked and they were gone.
All right, we'll give it an 8. Let's give it
And
an
they're
8.
also really weak. They're like, yeah,
We'll give
4.
it an 8 out of 8.
Exactly.
Alrighty, so what's that? 14.
14 out of 20.
14 out of
Alright.
20.
Decent.
That's a pretty decent beer.
Decent beer.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not
Good
bad.
stuff.
I'd happily drink a case on the beach.
I
Were you
didn't have a
just
beer.
cursing the
I
beer?
lasted a whole night without spilling shit myself.
Alright,
Yeah,
Cat's
yeah.
up next. What did you drink, Cat?
I didn't drink a beer, but I drank my Feijoa cider.
The Feijoa.
So the packaging is pretty. I mean, it's
Meh.
plastic.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a like 0.0069. Can
Yeah.
I do that?
It's been a while since I've
Can I
heard
g-
that rating.
Can I do that? All right.
We'll just give it a 0.
We'll just give it.
Taste was pretty nice. Ciders have a very distinct, taste. It's hard to,
Distinguish.
yeah, that word.
Carbonated apple.
Yeah. It tastes. I don't really like Feijoa that much, but I did enjoy this one, so I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
Decent. Drinkability. I mean,
It's all
I'll
gone.
give it
all
a
gone.
9.
Give it. All right, we'll give it
Give it a
top
9.
marks. Drinkability. So that's a 15 out of 20. It's not bad. That's not bad.
Man, that's not bad, eh?
For a cider.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Good size.
Good cider. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The
Please
meme.
stop.
The meme.
Yeah, I know. Every single time. Not
Go,
bad, eh?
Ehruhn.
Yeah, I can't not do it. Like,
Alright. Cold Stream apple cider. I'm keen to hear about this one.
Not
All
bad,
right,
good
okay.
sauce.
See if those Dan Murphy
sauce
reviews-
first. We got appearance. I think it's really nice looking. Not gonna lie. Like,
Oh yeah.
I like the white. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got the green and it's got the cool little graphic.
Mm.
Kind of minimalist.
Yeah, and it's kind of like hipster vintage.
I mean, that is a branding technique.
Yeah, I'd give it 2 out of 2 for appearance. Like, I like it. I like looking at it.
Alright.
And then taste. Like Kat was saying, like most ciders taste pretty damn similar. Like this one was like relatively like weak. Like I drank all 6 of them. Like, and like they're pretty sweet. But there's 1.5 standard drinks in it. Like I did not expect that. Like,
Oh wow. They're pretty
can barely
Trying to
taste the
waste them?
alcohol.
Oh.
You know how sometimes you get ciders that are like they're kind of almost watery in flavor. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like you don't the fruit is watered down.
Yeah,
the flavor you're
100%.
getting?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
kind of what it tastes like, or was it like very fruity?
Yeah, it's definitely like more like the watered fruit. It's like, but it's sweet at the same time, like because it's an apple cider, I guess. But yeah, so I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. Like
5 out
I'd
of
buy
10.
it again, but only if like that's all that's left.
Oh, okay. So that kind of comes down to drinkability out of 8. So drinkability kind of means like, would you be able to, like, how much of it could you drink, and how much of it do you want to drink?
I could drink hundreds of them. Like they're so easy to drink.
It's an 8. It's
Okay.
an 8. She'd buy
But
it again.
like, yeah.
She's got
yeah.
one
But
goal
do you
only,
wanna
and she
drink them
doesn't
again?
care what she drinks.
Honestly, like, yeah. If it's the last thing there, I'll buy it again. But like, it's not going to be my first choice by any stretch.
So, what would you rate that out of 8?
We'll go 6.
Good
6 out of
choice.
8 it is.
Yeah.
All right, that gets us to 13.
Yep.
Out of 20.
Reading reviews on that cider is incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I need to do
it's
it.
like, do people like love it?
Well, no, it's got it's like a 2.8 out of 5. And the first review says, and this is from Intrusio from Penisville. After reading several, after reading several internet reviews, I can only conclude that either most people don't know what cider tastes like or are massive morons. There is an underlying apple and a slightly sweet cider. The flavor is just a combination of a poor choice of yeast, high temperatures, and very poor quality apples, possibly stored ferment on the nose. It reminds me of windfall apples rotting on the ground. Nasty and a waste of hard-earned dollars. One of the worst ciders I've ever had.
Yes. What the heck?
And
That's
Aaron
crazy.
gave it a 13 out of 20.
Dude.
Love it,
How
13
rude.
out of 20 is
Okay.
high.
Okay.
Rude.
She seems like one of those
Look, you
people
like what you
that
like.
come
You
across.
like what you like.
Have you
I
ever
was
met
just-
one of those people that come across and they like turned you and they're like, I'm in the top 10% of reviewers on TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well done, you're a fuckwit.
Well, we're now down to the most important part
Yeah.
of the podcast, which is the Powerade review.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
getting sloshed on the Powerade.
So,
Yeah. So
appearance out of 2.
appearance not great. The plastic coating around the plastic bottle is actually loose. So Tara does a horrible job. So that's
Terrible.
a 0.
Terrible production.
0.
Um,
0.
Yeah, 0 for appearance. Taste, I could really like feel the 4 electrolytes going into my body. So the sodium,
Oh, that's gross,
potassium,
mate.
calcium, magnesium. Like I feel great. Like,
Wait, what are the
I
other
could
2
go run a
ones?
marathon.
Calcium, magnesium, what are the rest?
What?
Potassium,
Oh.
sodium,
Oh.
calcium,
Okay, yeah, that's good. You got the 4. Well done. Good. Good.
and yeah, taste was about a 6.
Yep.
6
alright.
out of 10.
Okay.
No, it's not
Alright.
bad,
Not
actually.
bad, not bad.
Not bad, eh?
Good choice.
And drinkability is an 8 because
Oh,
I
Mate,
feel
smash
the whole
hydrated.
bottom.
smash.
You are so hydrated right now. Shit.
Yeah,
That's a
That's a
14.
12.
P actually.
That's a
Wait.
14.
14. Good math. Good maths.
Hey,
Wait, what?
Greavesy.
Was it not 14?
I said
That-
12.
Oh.
That
Yep.
orange sticker on there. You work?
Yeah.
Can I guess you work in retail?
Yeah, I work at Coles. So
Damn, I work at
um,
Kmart because it's the exact same sticker.
Ah,
Yeah.
got the special.
And
Oh,
I
it's like a
actually
check
love
seal,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
to
accidentally
be
bought
honest,
this.
I'm going out to buy some Powerade.
Yeah, I mean, you've convinced
Damn.
me. 14, it's
14
better
out
than
of
Aaron's
20.
cider, obviously.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm getting sloshed on vodka Powerade next weekend.
Gosh.
I just searched up like a Powerade reviews because I actually just want to see what people are saying.
Is that a thing?
There's one that gave 2 stars, and it's like a good athletic drink should go down thin, wet, with consistency of water, but packing the electrolytes you need to keep going.
Oh my gosh.
Should go down thin and
Wow.
wet.
Thin and wet.
I mean,
Should go down thin and
That's
wet.
what,
Remember that, ladies and
that's-
gentlemen.
That's what she
Still
said.
providing the electrolytes you need. Electrolytes.
Electrolytes. Good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's been lovely chatting with you all. You're all been
Yeah.
good sports. We've been
Definitely.
gone way longer than we usually want to
It'll
go.
only be an hour and a
We-
half.
We did say at the beginning that we want the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, 2
and,
hours meant to be max.
We've definitely gone over time, but thank you very much for coming and participating
Yeah.
in the conversation, and definitely contributed. Everybody contributed in a great way, and I really appreciate the conversation. that
Where
we've had.
can we find you? Let's go. Should we go? We'll flick
Yeah.
it to Greavesy first. What do you stream, Greavesy? What do you do? Tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stream on Twitch. Mostly Fortnite. Hopefully not soon because the game's trash. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
Good.
Sure.
Thanks, Kels. Good shout out. And Grill Cat.
Yeah, I stream sometimes. Not on a schedule. I draw a bit, so you can watch me draw ugly pictures. So yeah, on Twitch. Hi.
Very nice. Aaron.
Oh, I don't stream, but because I do graphic design, I post a bit of it online. follow me on Instagram, designed by Aaron.
That's right. So it's just Instagram /design by Aaron. Or one
Yeah,
word?
it'll be designed by Aaron, but after the first N, there's a dot, then another N.
Okay.
Because I was blessed with 2 N's in my name. But yeah.
You should type it in chat, and then we can
I will.
follow you.
Hold up.
Yeah, type that away. Go follow Aaron.
Fly.
Yeah, we're not in pros chat, mate. He's Fly here.
Wait, you're muted.
He's also muted. Look at his face. He's been drinking so much.
He's
so
wine on his white hoodie.
I know, I was doing so well as well. I've gone through the whole night without spilling anything. I don't have any social media whatsoever, and I don't stream, so leave me alone.
Do you do makeup tutorials?
God, I wish. If you want to look white and pasty like me.
Drunk makeup tutorials.
Instagram
How
or
to get
Twitter
luscious
if people want to
red
come and flame
lips.
you for your opinions.
I actually don't even have Instagram and Twitter. I don't even have Facebook.
Hit him up on Fresh's Discord.
Yeah, that's about it.
Do
That's
it.
about it.
Come on over
I
to
will-
the Discord.
I will send
Minecraft.
nudes and message me.
Awesome, guys. All right. Well, obviously, I'm Mr. Woke TV. You can catch me on twitch.tv at /Mr. Woke TV. I stream not on a schedule at the moment, but I always post on my Twitter when I'm going live these days. So definitely follow me on Twitter as well, and also turn on those notifications. Cheeky. I'm there just having some shenanigans, play a few different games. What about you? Fresh Plays Live.
You can.
Yeah, where do we
you're
find
on my
you?
channel, guys. You're on my twitch.tv/freshplay.
Oh,
Actually,
wait, you're streaming?
You can. Yes, I'm streaming, guys. You've been live the whole time.
So if I hit this sub button at the top, what happens?
What happens? I don't know. Find out. Work.
Yeah, what happens if I click gift subs?
Give
to
subs 100 or something.
Gift
It's like
100
a cent
subs.
each, 1 cent each or something. No,
That's just
if you want to
low.
find all of my content in one spot, freshplayslive.com. I got my own website, guys. That's
Ooh.
professional. That is.
What about the merch?
It's professional.
The
On the
merch is
merch.
there. Don't worry, the merch is there.
Oh,
It's all
Surely
there. Freshplayslive.com.
You gotta plug
With your-
Cat's
your
art like a
face
view
on
as well.
Oh,
Where
yes!
are we getting
Mr.
that?
Woke.
Man, imagine having a shirt with that picture on it. That would
Yes.
be
I'm actually gonna get one made for PAX.
absolutely.
Oh my god, what's that? What's that in the chat?
Ooh.
Oh!
Subscribe
Oh!
tier 1 for 6 months. Woo!
Fly.
Oh wait,
God.
and Fly gifted
Sorry.
5 subs too.
I just had to outdo
Hey.
Woke a little bit. to kick it
Hey,
down.
Tori
alright,
got
mate.
one.
Talk about
Darkening.
upstaging me. That's alright. No problem.
Works for 6 months and Fly's like, you know what? I'll drop 5 subs. Thanks very much, guys.
Awesome, guys.
It's been a good podcast.
But
with you.
yeah, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and
You can also find it on any podcast platform if you missed most of it. It'll be on
And,
everyone.
and on your YouTube. What are the Spotify? Where
Spotify,
else?
Apple, literally any podcast
Literally
platform.
anyone.
If
Oh,
you
there you
search
go.
the Freshly Awoken, it'll be on there. There's like 9 that it goes.
Oh wait,
to.
is this on Spotify? That's
Yeah,
good to know.
Sure is on
Spotify, Apple
Spotify.
Podcasts, YouTube. If you want to see our beautiful
Listen
faces.
in your car on the way to work.
Yeah,
The way
exactly.
podcasts were meant to be consumed.
I probably won't be able to listen to us.
That's right. You can
Crash
listen to the animal one. We already told you. Woke hates dogs. We already told you.
Everybody find that story.
Listen to him wanting to run over dogs while
Yeah,
driving.
yeah, you'll love it.
What happened?
I'm pretty sure I've eaten dog.
Alrighty, guys. We're gonna end it there. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very
And I hope
much.
you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you all later. All right.
Peace.
See you later.